Chapter 267. When enemies met, their eyes would turn red. However, the timing was also important. It wasn't as if one had to fight the moment he saw his enemy. In such a situation, the Wen siblings gritted their teeth and suppressed the indignation and anger in their hearts as they followed riverward and flew at top speed. Qiao family. Jiang Xi's face darkened. He didn't relax at all as he pushed his speed to the limit. 800 golden core cultivators and 4 nascent soul cultivators. This kind of overall strength wasn't something he could deal with now. If he were to fight them head-on, he reckoned that a joint attack would be enough to seriously injure him. As for the Wen siblings, they might just be gone. Therefore, he had to escape. Qiao Sui also knew that it was useless to threaten them with simple words. He now had the mentality of a hunter. There were only 3 golden core cultivators, even if one of them had a Tao domain. There was no need for the 4 nascent soul cultivators to make a move. A joint attack from 800 golden core cultivators was enough to turn the 3 prey into ashes. However, even a lion would use all its strength to hunt a rabbit. Qiao Sui certainly understood this. He smiled confidently and said, "Let's go all out." 800 golden core cultivators attacked at the same time. Qiao Sui and the other 3 nascent soul cultivators also used their strongest attacks. Instantly, powerful saber lights, sword shadows, flames, and cold light accompanied by a storm of energy covered the sky as they attacked Riverward and the other 2. Oh no! Jiang Xi's expression changed. Not only were there golden core cultivators attacking together, but there was also a blazing domain power that covered over and interfered with his Gale domain. It slowed down his speed a little. It was the young master of the Qiao family, Qiao Sui. He also had a Tao domain. We have to block it. If not, we'll be in danger. Although Jiang Xi was anxious, he still made a calm judgment. Boom! 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 The roaring sound of energy approached and was about to hit the area covered by the Gale domain. Shield! At the critical moment, Jiang Xi directly condensed the domain power. The Gale domain was like a shield, enveloping the 3 of them. The complete Gale domain formed a protective shield that was close to the invincible state of the nascent soul cultivators. This was his strongest defensive move. Woo! The violent collision produced a strong shock wave. Strong winds blew, mixing with the flames of the Qianyang heavenly abode and sweeping across the sky. On the other hand, Jiang Xi felt as if he had been hammered tens of thousands of times, and his entire body was about to fall apart. Damn it! Jiang Xi roared as he endured the pain. In an instant, he spread out the Gale domain. The wind whistled as the 3 of them used the shockwave produced by the joint attack to flee once again. His speed was even faster than before. This is a complete Tao domain. What a terrifying talent! Qiao Sui was shocked. He had cultivated for more than 700 years and had only cultivated the blazing flame domain to 40% completion, which was still far from perfection. The late-stage golden core cultivator in front of him actually possessed a complete Tao domain. Even in the entire Mu Rong planet, such a level of comprehension might not even appear once in 10,000 years. They must be unparalleled geniuses from other advanced life planets. Such geniuses might have powerful magical equipment, such as ultra-quality spiritual weapons. Go after them and kill them. Qiao Sui's eyes were burning with passion. Boom! 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 For nascent soul stage cultivators and 800 golden core stage cultivators continuously attacked the 3 people in front of them. Even a nascent soul stage cultivator might not be able to withstand the surging energy. Jiang Xi relied on the protective shield formed by the Gale domain to block the attacks time and time again. In addition, the Gale domain increased his speed. Even with the Wen siblings, his speed was not inferior to a late-stage nascent soul stage cultivator. The strongest Qiao family cultivator behind him was only Qiao Sui, who was in the mid-stage nascent soul stage. Soon, the 3 of them disappeared from the group of volcanoes. I'm so angry. Qiao Sui watched as the 3 of them disappeared, leaving only the erupting volcanoes on the ground. He angrily struck out with his palm and smashed dozens of volcanoes into smithereens. The magma that flowed out formed a magma lake on the ground. For nascent soul stage cultivators and 800 golden core stage cultivators had actually allowed 3 golden core stage cultivators to escape. No one would believe it if they heard about it. They will definitely go to the inheritance altar in the core area. I have to ask Father to be careful. Qiao Sui hurriedly sent a message to his father, Qiao Xian. Once the 3 of them were discovered, they were to be killed immediately. In his opinion, a late-stage golden core stage cultivator with a complete Dao domain, such a genius, must have treasures on him. Riverward took the Wen siblings and flew away from the group of volcanoes. They flew for another 1,000 miles before coming to a stop. They had completely shaken off their pursuers. In front of them was a dense forest of fire trees. The 3 of them immediately hid in the forest and rested for the time being. Martial Granduncle, Wen Yoxin and Wen Feng looked at Jiang Xi worriedly. Jiang Xi's face was pale. Although he had used the Gale domain to block so many attacks, his body was still severely injured. His entire body looked like it was about to split open. Clear cracks had appeared, and even his bones could be seen. He reckoned that after a few more attacks, his body would completely split open. I'm fine. Jiang Xi shook his head and endured the excruciating pain coming from all over his body. He took out a 1,000-year-old spiritual fruit and used the spiritual energy within to heal his injuries. 1,000-year-old spiritual fruit was clearly not enough. He ate a total of 3 before the terrifying cracks on his body completely disappeared. Then, he used his spiritual energy to carefully heal his injuries. He did not dare to use the 10,000-year-old spiritual fruit because his body was already on the verge of collapse. If he were to be struck by the immense spiritual energy, he would explode. There would be no room for negotiation. When the Wen siblings saw that Jiang Xi had recovered from his injuries, they finally heaved a sigh of relief. The 2 of them looked at each other. They were still in shock. This martial granduncle was just too powerful. That was the combined attack of 4 nascent soul stage cultivators and 800 golden core stage cultivators. Furthermore, it was not just once. Even a late-stage nascent soul stage cultivator could have died in the group of volcanoes after facing so many combined attacks, right? Their martial granduncle's cultivation level was about the same as theirs, but his strength was so freakish. The 2 of them suppressed the shock in their hearts and did not speak. They quietly waited for Jiang Xi to heal his injuries. After another quarter of an hour, Jiang Xi's injuries were completely healed. He opened his eyes with a trace of relief. If it were not for the complete protective shield formed by the Gale domain, he would not have been able to withstand those powerful combined attacks. Also, the extreme speed when he escaped was also the embodiment of the Gale domain's speed. Fortunately, I improved the Gale domain to the perfect state. Otherwise, I would have died just now. Qiao family. Jiang Xi's eyes were filled with murderous intent as a shocking chill erupted from his body. Even when he fought with Hu Yen on Earth, he did not suffer such serious injuries. Martial Granduncle, just bear with it for a while. Wen Yoxin smiled bitterly. Yes, Martial Granduncle. You will only have a chance to take revenge if you are alive. Wen Feng also advised. They were worried that this young martial granduncle would go after Qiao Sui in a rage. Of course, the 2 of them hated the Qiao family to the core. However, after so many years of escaping, they had learned to endure. Chapter 268. Jiang Xi let out a long breath and regained his composure. He shook his head and said, "It's fine, I know my limits. Let's continue hunting fire spirits." Seeing this, the Wen siblings finally relaxed. Subsequently, the 3 of them continued hunting fire spirits in this fire tree forest. There were quite a number of fire spirits in Qianyang Grotto Heaven. Other than the core region, there was a fire spirit tribe in each of the other 4 regions. The fire lion fire spirit that was hiding in the volcano group just now was the fire spirit. And in this fire tree forest lived a vermilion bird fire spirit. However, no matter what kind of fire spirit it was, most of them were at the golden core stage. Only a small number of them were at the nascent soul stage. With Jiang Xi's strength, he could easily deal with them. The three of them crazily hunted and obtained Dao crystals in this fire tree forest. Occasionally, they would encounter other cultivators, but they were not bloodthirsty people. They did not pay attention to those who were fighting with the fire spirits or were about to be killed by the fire spirits. Rather than wasting time on these ordinary cultivators, it was better to kill more fire spirits. That way, the speed of obtaining Dao crystals would be faster. As time passed, the three of them realized that the number of fire spirits was decreasing. They knew that the fire spirits here were about to be killed. It's about time. Let's go to the inheritance altar in the core region. Jiang Xi kept the Dao crystals that he had just obtained from killing the fire spirits and turned his gaze to the core region. When Yoxin and Wenfeng's eyes lit up, filled with excitement and anticipation. Because the two of them had more than 30,000 Dao crystals on them. This number, even during their Wen family's heyday, only the top golden core geniuses in the family could barely gather so many. Bringing so many Dao crystals to obtain the inheritance, the success rate was definitely very high. Jiang Xi was also filled with anticipation. He had close to 250,000 Dao crystals on him. It was definitely stable. As for going so late, would the inheritance in the inheritance altar be obtained by someone else first? Jiang Xi was not worried at all. Firstly, his main goal was the Yang energy and not the Wen family's inheritance. Secondly, the Wen family's inheritance was not so easy to obtain. If he did not have enough Dao crystals, it would be useless even if he went. He would not even be able to enter the inheritance altar. What if others also collected enough Dao crystals? Well, there was no what if. Did he really think that two Dao integration stage super mighty figures were useless? When Daoist Gu and Wen Yen built Shenyang Grotto Heaven, in order to prevent future accidents, they had already left a backup plan in the inheritance altar. The method of unsealing the seal that Wen Yoxin had been painstakingly searching for was one of the backup plans. The core area of Shenyang Grotto Heaven was not big. Apart from the inheritance altar surrounded by a sea of fire, there was nothing else. This sea of fire was the embodiment of the power of the blood-forbidden trigram fire array. If he did not have the energy of the Dao crystal to protect his body, he would have rashly entered the sea of fire of the blood-forbiddenly fire array. In an instant, it would be burned to ashes by the Dao of fire. Qiao Xian had long since memorized these precautions. He waited for Qiao Sui to send over the collected Dao crystals. At the same time, he brought along 2 nascent soul stage cultivators and 200 Aurus core stage cultivators to guard the entire blood-forbidden trigram fire formation and forbade outsiders from entering. 3 foreign cultivators with ordinary looks? Qiao Xian pondered over his son Qiao Sui's message, and the images of the 3 foreign cultivators surfaced in his mind. Sui has 3 other nascent soul stage experts and 800 Aurus core stage cultivators with him. Even I would have to expend a lot of effort to block their combined attacks. A peerless genius from another advanced planet? He doesn't even have a Dao protector by his side, so he probably doesn't come from a powerful faction. Even if he dies in Shenyang Grotto Heaven, no one will pursue the matter. In terms of vision and knowledge, he clearly knew more than his son. He had lived for more than 1,000 years, but he had only mastered 70% of the blazing fire domain. A peerless genius who could master a complete Dao domain at the late-stage Aurus core stage would at least have a Dao protector with primordial soul stage battle prowess. If he didn't, it meant that he was just a talented and lucky little fellow. Search carefully. If we can stop these 3 people, we might find something unexpected. Qiao Xian was looking forward to it. Just as he was thinking, he suddenly heard a commotion from another direction. Why can't we go in? Too domineering. It's not like this is owned by your family. Aren't you afraid of incurring the wrath of the masses with your actions? Qiao Xian frowned and went over in a flash. He saw 7 ordinary Aurus core cultivators trying to enter the core region, but they were stopped by the Qiao family cultivators. Scram if you don't want to die. Chao Xian released the aura of a nascent soul stage cultivator. The 7 people paled and hurriedly fled. Chao Xian only watched without taking action. Situations like this had happened many times since the beginning. Chao Sui had taken away 800 Aurus core cultivators, but he had only left 200 behind. However, those he had left behind were all late-stage Aurus core cultivators, and 2 of them were mid-stage nascent soul stage cultivators. Such an overall strength was definitely one of the best in the Grotto Heaven mystic realm. There was no other. However, Chao Xian only guarded the core region and prevented anyone from entering. He did not kill anyone. Indeed, as these people had said, he was also worried about incurring the wrath of the masses. Now, many people were watching the core region. If they were to kill in public, it might cause the scattered cultivators to band together. We can only hold them back for a while. Once Sui returns, we'll have to let them go. Chao Xian was very clear about the situation. If they were to hold them back for too long, something would happen sooner or later. After all, there were more than 20,000 foreign cultivators. The Chao family did not have the strength to face the wrath of so many people at the same time. He only wanted to be the first to enter the altar and obtain the inheritance once he had enough doctrine crystals. Before that, no one was allowed to enter. Of course, just because he did not kill anyone here did not mean that the Chao family would not kill anyone. That was why he had sent his son Chao Sui out as a backup. At the same time, on a mountaintop not far from the core region, Jiang Xi was standing there with the Wen family siblings. They had also seen what had just happened. The Chao family deserves to die. The Wen family siblings were furious and worried at the same time. With the Chao family guarding, it would be difficult to enter the inheritance altar. 1 late-stage nascent soul stage cultivator, 2 mid-stage nascent soul stage cultivators, and 2 late-stage Aurus core cultivators. Such an overall strength was not inferior to Chao Sui's group. Don't worry, they'll let them go. Jiang Xi's expression was calm. He was not anxious at all. This was obvious. If Chao Xian still dared to hold them back when more people arrived and angered the cultivators, it would be strange if they did not beat their brains out. Moreover, Feng Si, Jing Yuqing, and the rest had yet to make a move. Would these geniuses from the top immortal sects be willing to be held back? Chapter 269. Following that, many ordinary cultivators were stopped by the Chao clan. Although many of them were furious, they did not dare to make a move. Faced with 3 nascent soul cultivators and 200 golden core late-stage cultivators, if they wanted to enter the core area, they would have to form an alliance and become stronger than the Chao clan cultivators. The problem was that they were all competitors and were wary of each other. It would be difficult to get them to form an alliance unless they were at their wits' end. This was also the reason why Chao Xian dared to stop them. As time passed, more and more cultivators discovered the core area and saw the majestic altar. They knew that the inheritance was located there. Therefore, more and more cultivators gathered in the core area. The Chao clan cultivators continued to stop others from entering, relying on their strength. A feeling of anger and dissatisfaction brewed among the cultivators and became more and more dangerous. Soon, a team of 100 cultivators flew over from the western region at high speed. The leader was Jing Yuqing, a nascent soul cultivator from the 4 Symbols sect of the Minglan Star region. Jing Yuqing stopped at the edge of the core area and saw the many Chao clan cultivators guarding the sky, as well as Chao Xian. Chao Xian, what's the meaning of this? He asked in a low voice. Of course, he knew that the ruling clan of the Murong planet was the Chao clan, but he did not want to reveal it to Feng Si and the others. Chao Xian flew over and chuckled. Greetings, fellow Taoist from the 4 Symbols sect. If you want to enter, please enter. Then, he ordered his clansmen to disperse. He knew that stopping them was the limit. If he continued, something bad might happen. Moreover, Chao Sui had already sent him a message and would be back soon. It did not matter whether he stopped them or not. However, Jing Yuqing did not immediately step into the sea of fire of the blood prohibition trigram fire formation. A thoughtful look appeared on his rugged face. He was a genius disciple of a top immortal Tao sect and had seen many things. He could easily tell that the sea of fire in front of him was actually a powerful formation. This sea of fire formation vaguely exudes a trace of the Tao of heaven and earth. It must be a test left behind by that immortal integration expert. The Tao essence contained in those Tao crystals is almost the same as here. According to the sect's records of some immortal integration places of inheritance, it can be inferred that those Tao crystals are key items to pass the test. But I still have to be careful. I can't go in first. Thinking of this, Zheng Yuqing said to a disciple of the same sect, "Refine these Tao crystal, go in and try." As he spoke, he took out 3 Tao crystals and handed them to the disciple. People were sacrificing their lives to explore the way. Qiao Xian had not retreated too far. When he saw Zheng Yuqing's actions, he sighed inwardly. Unexpectedly, this Zheng Yuqing was a very meticulous person despite his ferocious appearance. As expected, none of the genius disciples of the top immortal Tao sects were easy to fool. To be honest, Qiao Xian did not know how powerful this blood-forbidden trigram fire array was. After all, apart from the members of the Wen clan, no one else had entered before. Therefore, Qiao Xian adopted a wait-and-see attitude. He wanted to see what would happen after the 4 symbols sect disciples entered. The 4 symbols sect disciples' expression changed when he heard Zheng Yuqing's request, but he could not refuse. Because Zheng Yuqing was a genius of the sect, and he was just an ordinary disciple. He grabbed 3 fingernail-sized Tao crystals and quickly refined them. Then, he felt strands of powerful Tao power in his body, as if they were about to break out of his body. He gritted his teeth and directly charged into the sea of fire in front of him. Strangely, after entering the sea of fire, he felt some kind of restriction. He could not fly and could only run with all his might. His speed was only slightly faster than ordinary people. 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds. Puff! This middle-stage golden core 4 symbols sect disciple only ran 100 meters in the sea of fire before he dissipated into thin air like smoke. Seeing such a scene, the ordinary cultivators who were guarding outside the core area were stunned. A middle-stage golden core 4 symbols sect disciple only lasted 3 seconds in the sea of fire? What kind of fire was this sea of fire? Many people wanted to retreat. The inheritance was important, but their lives were more important. On the other side, Zheng Yuqing had more or less confirmed his conjecture then. He had another late-stage golden core disciple refine 10 Tao crystals and enter the sea of fire again. That disciple had a look of despair as he ran with all his might toward the inheritance altar. However, he only lasted 10 seconds. After running a full 500 meters, he was still turned into ashes by the sea of fire. Zheng Yuqing's eyes flashed. The death of his 2 fellow disciples did not affect his mood at all. What he was concerned about was the distance these 2 fellow disciples had covered in the sea of fire. The first disciple, after refining 3 Tao crystals, persisted for 3 seconds and ran out 100 meters. The second disciple used 10 Tao crystals to last 10 seconds and ran 500 meters. It was not surprising that this powerful sea of fire array formation would suppress a cultivator's cultivation and speed. After all, this was the inheritance ground of a Tao integration elite. What was certain was that Tao crystals could withstand the power of the sea of fire array formation. Each Tao crystal could last for 1 second. The edge of the sea of fire is about 100,000 meters away from the altar. Based on this calculation, a round trip would take about 5,000 Tao crystals. I only have 90,000 Tao crystals. Considering that I'll have to spend a lot of time obtaining the inheritance at the altar, these Tao crystals are not enough. Zheng Yuqing's gaze swept across the cultivators around him. Then, he noticed Feng Si and Fu Zai who were hidden among the cultivators. He looked at Qiao Xian and suddenly had an idea. In the distance, on an inconspicuous mountain peak. Uncle Granduncle? The Wen clan siblings turned to look at Zhang Xi. With their ancestral land in front of them, the 2 of them were anxious to enter. At the same time, they were worried that someone would enter the altar before them. Jiang Xi shook his head slightly and told them to calm down. Many people had yet to make a move. At that moment, the situation changed. Someone had made a move. Without any warning, Qiao Xian waved his hand and slapped a few times at the ordinary cultivators who were watching from the periphery of the core area. The raging power of the domain and the blazing flames instantly formed a firestorm that looked like it could destroy the world. Hundreds of golden core cultivators in that area were slapped to death instantly. Their storage Dharma treasures were swept away by Qiao Xian's domain power. Qiao Xian was not the only one. Jing Yuqing, Feng Si, Fu Zai, and the others in their training teams also made a move at the same time. The four sides reached a consensus to kill these ordinary cultivators. Most of the fire spirits had been killed, but these cultivators would definitely have Dao crystals on them. For a moment, chaos broke out everywhere. This is crazy. The major factions are killing people. Someone wanted to run away. Everyone, let's join forces and fight it out with them. Some people were hot-blooded and wanted to fight head-on. Take advantage of the chaos and charge into the sea of fire. Who knows, we might be able to reach the altar and obtain the inheritance. Some people were still holding on to hope. The ordinary cultivators were scattered and had their own plans. There was no way they could organize an effective resistance. Chapter 270. Qiao Xian, Jing Yuqing, Feng Si and Fu Zai each unleashed their strongest attacks to kill those ordinary cultivators. Although their combat strength could not be considered as invincible among the nascent soul realm, they were still at the top. Those powerful attacks were accompanied by the frightening power of the domain. Those ordinary cultivators were unable to withstand them at all. Death upon contact. Furthermore, other than Fu Zai, who was alone, the other three had subordinates who were elites of the same cultivation realm. Although Feng Si had few subordinates, there were 4 nascent souls in his team of 10 and their overall strength was equally strong. Hundreds of people chased after more than 20,000 ordinary cultivators and killed them in a frenzy. Some of them fled into the sea of fire of the Blood Seal Leaf Fire Formation in a desperate attempt to try their luck. However, they were reduced to ashes in the blink of an eye. That was because many people were still unaware of the use of Dao crystals. Earlier on, when Jing Yuqing used his fellow disciples to scout the path, many people only saw the surface and did not know that the 2 disciples only entered after refining Dao crystals. After more than 100 people were devoured by the sea of fire, no one dared to charge in anymore and only wanted to escape. Despair spread through the hearts of the ordinary cultivators. Was this still a legacy of the essence spirit realm? It was way too terrifying. They would die if they entered the sea of fire. If they did not, they would be in danger of being hunted down and killed. Many people regretted coming here out of greed for the opportunity. Large numbers of golden core cultivators were killed one after another. Instead, the 600-odd nascent soul cultivators died even faster. That was because they were strong and had obtained more Dao crystals previously. Therefore, the firepower of Qiao Xian and the others was focused on them first. Not many of the 20,000-odd ordinary cultivators died when they hunted the fire spirits. However, more than half of them died here. Jiang Xi was unperturbed by that even though he was the one who manipulated the situation to a large extent. These people had all come here because they had received the news that he had spread. However, many people did not realize that they had to be prepared to die if they wanted to fight for the opportunity. High returns meant high risks. That was a commonly accepted logic. After all, how could there be such a good thing in this world? Faced with the killing of the 4 factions, Jiang Xi did not reveal his full strength lest he was targeted. He deliberately avoided the nascent soul cultivators. Therefore, those who came to deal with him and the Wen siblings were basically all in the golden core stage. With such strength, Jiang Xi could easily kill him. At the same time, he could also take the storage magic treasure that the young man had just obtained for himself. As a result, he obtained quite a few Dao crystals. Scram! With a swing of his sword, Jiang Xi easily killed a late-stage golden core cultivator of the Qiao family. He only used the complete sword intent. He wasn't worried about being recognized by the Qiao family. After escaping from Qiao Sui's joint attack, he and the Wen siblings had changed their faces with masks. No one would be able to recognize the three new faces unless they were in the primordial soul stage or if he exposed his Gale domain. At this time, a group of several hundred Qiao clan cultivators flew over from afar, led by Qiao clan's young master, Qiao Sui. He had returned from a hunt. As a result, the strength of the four forces doubled again. The ordinary cultivators who had not managed to escape in time had even less of a chance to do so. Only despair remained. Of the 20,000 people, only 4,000 to 5,000 were left, and the number was still decreasing rapidly. It's about time. Jiang Xi had been observing his surroundings. While he led the Wen siblings to block the attacks of the four forces, he had also been shifting his position. Now, he had arrived at the edge of the Blood Seal Trigram Fire Array's Sea of Fire. The hundreds of cultivators who had risked their lives to charge into the Sea of Fire provided a good cover for his next move. Taking advantage of the chaos to enter the Blood Seal Trigram Fire Array's Sea of Fire, they had to act. If they waited until most of the ordinary cultivators were dead, the three of them might be besieged. It just so happened that they were only a step away from the Sea of Fire. Dao Crystal. Jiang Xi and the Wen siblings refined the Dao Crystal at the same time, charged into the Sea of Fire, and ran toward the Inheritance Altar. The four forces didn't expect that there would still be people who dared to charge into the Sea of Fire. Therefore, when Jiang Xi led the Wen siblings into the Sea of Fire, no one stopped them. It was only after Jiang Xi and the other two had run 1,000 meters that the crowd realized what was going on. Someone was hiding their strength. They wanted to take advantage of the chaos. Qiao Xian, Jing Yuqing, Feng Si, and Fu Zai's expressions turned cold. After that, he stopped chasing after the remaining 5,000 or so ordinary cultivators. They turned to take the Dao crystal that their subordinates had collected and refined a portion of it before charging into the Sea of Fire, trying to catch up to Jiang Xi and the other two. However, they soon realized that Jiang Xi was much faster than them. They couldn't catch up. The four of them didn't look too good. After killing the ordinary cultivators for half a day, they didn't expect to find an expert of the same level as them hiding among them. That's the wind-related Dao domain that Sui mentioned? No, these three people look different from the ones Sui sent in the transmission. There's no such coincidence. They must have some means to disguise themselves. They might not even be late-stage golden core cultivators, but nascent soul cultivators. Qiao Xian's expression darkened, feeling like he had been played. Trying to take advantage of the chaos to obtain the inheritance? A Dao integration inheritance isn't that easy to obtain. Qiao Xian's gaze was cold as he stared at the backs of Jiang Xi and the other two. Feng Si, Fu Zai, and Jing Yuqing had the same thought. Although they couldn't catch up to Jiang Xi, they weren't too worried. The difficulty of obtaining a Dao integration inheritance was usually very high. Even they didn't have much confidence in succeeding. As the four of them advanced, they continuously refined the Dao crystal and used the energy of the Dao to resist the power of the Blood Prohibition Leaf Fire formation. After the massacre earlier, they had more than 200,000 Dao crystals in their hands. Qiao Xian, in particular, had the most Dao crystals on him now, a total of 250,000. His son Qiao Sui alone had brought him a total of 150,000 Dao crystals. The consensus now was that the more Dao crystals one had, the longer one could last in the Sea of Fire formation. This made it easier to comprehend the inheritance left behind by a Dao integration expert. The distance from the edge of the Sea of Fire to the inheritance altar was a total of 100,000 meters. With the support of the Gale domain, Jiang Xi's speed was nearly twice as fast as the four people behind him, even though he was carrying the Wen siblings. 15 minutes later, he and the Wen siblings finally arrived in front of the inheritance altar. The inheritance altar covered an area of 100 square kilometers and was 100 feet tall. Its entire body was made of dark red stones and was extremely majestic. Waves of Li Fire Dao rhymes emanated from the inheritance altar, carrying an aura that seemed to be able to burn the soul. It spread throughout the sea of fire and then the entire Qianyang Grotto heaven. Wen Yoxin and Wen Feng were excited. Ever since the Wen family was exterminated, the surviving members of the Wen family had never entered the ancestral land of inheritance again. Chapter 271. The surviving clansmen of the Wen clan could only imagine the scenery of their ancestral land through the jade slips of the family tree, dreaming of the scene when they obtained the inheritance. Now, the siblings were only one step away from their dreams coming true. They had already arrived at the Wen clan's inheritance altar. As long as they obtained the inheritance, their dreams could be realized. What are you waiting for? Let's go up. Jiang Xi smiled. His master had entrusted him with the task of visiting the Wen clan. However, seeing the Wen clan in such a state, if he did not help them, his master would probably visit him in his dreams. If he could help the Wen siblings obtain the Wen clan's inheritance, it would be considered as fulfilling his master's task. Jiang Xi turned around to take a look. Behind him, Chao Xian, Jing Yuqing, Feng Si, and Fu Zai were only halfway there. Then, Jiang Xi and the other two walked up the stairs and climbed to the top of the inheritance altar with anticipation. When the Wen clan's ancestor, Wen Yan, opened up the Qianyang Grotto heaven and established the inheritance ancestral land, he had specially separated a wisp of his Li Fire Dao. This wisp of Li Fire Dao used the inheritance altar's blood forbidden Li Fire formation as its core and merged with the entire Qianyang Grotto heaven. When Jiang Xi, Wen Yoxin, and Wen Feng reached the top of the inheritance altar, they could clearly sense the wisp of Li Fire Dao that permeated the heaven and earth. The inheritance altar that spanned over 100 square kilometers was enveloped by a Dao aura. The intense Dao aura exuded a pressure that seemed to transcend the natural order of life, making the three of them feel deep veneration. Jiang Xi took a deep breath and said to the Wen siblings, "Carefully sense the Li Fire Dao aura here. If you don't have enough Dao crystals, ask for more from me." "Thank you, Uncle Granduncle." The two of them were extremely grateful. The blood-forbidden Li Fire formation existed around the inheritance altar in the form of a sea of fire. The inheritance altar was the core of the formation. Being here, they had to constantly refine Dao crystals and use the wisp of Li Fire Dao aura in the Dao crystals to resist the power that could incinerate everything. Jiang Xi had a lot of Dao crystals on him. Previously, he had obtained close to 250,000 Dao crystals from hunting fire spirits. Just now, when the four forces had joined forces to kill those ordinary cultivators, he had conveniently killed many cultivators from the four forces. Now, he had close to 300,000 Dao crystals on him. A Dao crystal could last for 1 second in the blood-forbidden Li Fire array. Such a number was enough to ensure that they could last for a long time at the inheritance altar. "Remember, don't make any moves," Jiang Xi warned again. Wen Yoxin and Wen Feng chuckled. They had also seen this warning in the clan record's jade slips. The inheritance altar was the most sacred place of the Wen clan. There was a ban laid down by the patriarch here. If anyone dared to make a move on the inheritance altar without permission, they would be punished. Then, the three of them found a place and sat down cross-legged. Compared to the huge inheritance altar, they seemed very small. The Wen clan's siblings closed their eyes. As they refined the Dao crystal, they began to seriously comprehend the Li Fire Dao charm that permeated the world. When they started to comprehend, the Li Fire Dao rhymes were like naughty children, dancing and circling around the two of them. When Jiang Xi saw this, he fell into deep thought. This pair of brother and sister were of the Wen clan's bloodline. The wisp of Ignis Dao left behind by the Wen family's ancestor had a natural affinity with the two of them. Master once mentioned in the inherited memories that the Wen clan members had to go through to obtain the inheritance in the Qianyang Grotto heaven. First, you have to hunt fire spirits and obtain enough Dao crystals. This is equivalent to a test before the inheritance. The Dao crystal is the foundation of everything. With the Dao crystal, you will have the time and opportunity to comprehend the Li Fire Dao charm left behind by Uncle Master Wen Yan at the inheritance altar. If the inheritance altar is a door, then the Leaf Fire Dao charm is the key. After successfully comprehending the Dao charm, you will be able to open the door and enter the door. That is the true Wen clan inheritance. However, even if you successfully enter the door, you will still need a seal removal method. This step-by-step was enough to show how difficult it was to obtain the inheritance. Jiang Ci was not worried that someone would beat him to it. This was the reason why he was not worried. Those who were not from the Wen clan or did not have a seal removal method, even if they comprehended the Leaf Fire Dao charm at the inheritance altar, they would not be able to obtain the final inheritance. Of course, Jiang Ci was not in the list of restrictions. However, his main target now was the baleful yang energy sealed under the inheritance altar. Whether it was outside or inside the door, it would not affect his refining of the dark yang energy. Therefore, he had a clear goal and did not comprehend the Leaf Fire Dao charm first. Instead, he formed tens of thousands of seals with both hands and slapped them on the surface of the inheritance altar. In the next moment, many complex array runes appeared on the smooth surface of the altar where he was sitting cross-legged. Waves of extremely pure and vigorous energy passed through the array runes and surged up from below, directly entering Jiang Ci's body. Dark yang energy. It's very sufficient. Jiang Ci's eyes lit up. The seals that he had formed earlier were to open a hole in the blood prohibition Leaf Fire array that covered the inheritance altar. He would release the dark yang energy sealed under the inheritance altar. When Riverward sensed the dense energy gushing out, he didn't waste any time. With a thought, he quickly activated the yin-yang nourishment technique. Suddenly, an inexplicable attraction appeared in his body and absorbed all the dark yang energy that surged up into his body without any wastage. The combination of yin and yang. I have refined a lot of dark yang energy before, so I am attracted to the dark yang energy. Therefore, I don't need to absorb much of it now and the dark yang energy will automatically enter my body. Jiang Ci smiled as he had expected this. Then, he began to refine the dark yang energy that surged into his body. In his lower dantian, the wind and sword shadows emitted an inexplicable Dao charm that surrounded his golden core and kept circling. When the refined dark yang energy entered his lower dantian, suddenly, the speed of the circling increased. The golden core's transformation accelerated as if it had a life and was rapidly forming. Absorb, absorb, absorb. Jiang Ci's face was filled with excitement as he frantically absorbed and refined the dark yang energy that surged up from below the inheritance altar. As for whether the dark yang energy would affect the Wen family's inheritance ancestral land and Qianyang Grotto Heaven, the answer was yes. Of course there would be an impact. Moreover, it would be a destructive impact. The blood prohibition Leaf Fire array was set up by his master, Daoist Ge. Now, Daoist Ge's remnant soul had dissipated. The reason why this array could still operate was mainly because of the dark yang energy. Without the dark yang energy, the blood prohibition Leaf Fire array would lose its most important source of energy. Soon, this array would gradually disappear like the Heaven and Earth Spirit Lock array and the outer seal of Qianyang Grotto Heaven. The consequence of the unsealing would be the collapse of the inheritance altar. At that time, the entire Qianyang Grotto Heaven would be destroyed. Chapter 272. Before coming to Morone Planet, he did not expect such an accident to happen. Jiang Ci's original plan was to only refine a small portion of the yang energy without affecting the seal of the array formation. This way, he could ensure the normal operation of the Wen family's inheritance altar. Now, in Riverward's opinion, if he was crippled, then so be it. The outer seal of Qianyang Grotto Heaven had already been unsealed. Without the protection of the array formation, anyone could enter. When the time came, news of this place would spread. The inheritance of a Dao integration stage expert would definitely attract powerful essence soul or even Dao integration stage cultivators. The Wen family had declined to such a state. Only Wen Yoxin and Wen Feng were left. They did not have the ability to control this Grotto Heaven mystic realm. Rather than exposing the Wen family's inheritance to those experts, it was better to destroy it. Daoist Gu and Wen Yen would probably agree with him. Therefore, Riverward did not have any misgivings as he wantonly absorbed and refined the baleful yang energy sealed beneath the inheritance altar. The speed of the golden core's transformation is 100 times faster than before. Under normal circumstances, he would need 10 years to complete the golden core's transformation. Even if it was 100 times faster now, it would still take at least a month. But, with the number of Tao crystals I have, I can only last for 3.5 days at most. This is far from enough. I need to be faster. With that, he made a few more hand seals and increased the speed of the yang energy release by 10 times. And the speed of the golden core's transformation was 1,000 times faster. Feeling the surging yang energy below, Jiang Xi only had one word left in his heart: super awesome. I can still split a portion of my attention to comprehend the Li Fire Dao rhymes here. Jiang Xi realized that he still had the energy to think about his messy matters while refining the yang energy. Therefore, he hurriedly focused on comprehending the Li Fire Dao rhymes. Since he was already here, he could not waste such a good opportunity. When he began to comprehend it, the Li Fire Daoist rhyme that permeated the inheritance altar did not approach him like it did with the Wen siblings. In other words, it was more difficult for him to comprehend. It's because of the bloodline. The blood restriction Li Fire array, as the name suggested, was related to bloodline. After all, this was the legacy of the Wen family. The Li Fire Dao runes here were closer to the Wen family members. This formation is truly magical. After Jiang Xi understood this, he didn't think too much about it. This formation was recorded in his inherited memories. He could slowly study it when he returned. Subsequently, he focused on refining the baleful yang energy while comprehending the Li Fire Dao runes. About a quarter of an hour later, Jiang Xi suddenly opened his eyes and looked at the steps of the inheritance altar. There came the sound of rapid footsteps. Only then did the Wen siblings notice the abnormality. They also looked in the direction of the footsteps. 4 figures appeared. Qiao Xian, Jing Yuqing, Feng Si, and Fu Zai had caught up. After they ascended the inheritance altar, they immediately saw Jiang Xi and the other 2 sitting cross-legged. Some people's eyes were filled with killing intent as they directly attacked. Between Qiao Xian and Fu Zai, one struck out a blazing palm print, while the other unsheathed his twin sabers and slashed out in a crisscross manner. Palm prints, saber lights, and domain power set off an energy storm. The destructive attacks attacked Jiang Xi and the other 2. However, at that moment the inheritance altar blazed with fire. The 2's attacks were instantly reduced to nothingness. At the same time, the Li Fire Dao runes seemed to have gained sentience. They turned into wisps of flames and landed on their bodies. Oh no! There's a Dao integration expert's martial law here. Their expressions changed drastically. They hurriedly circulated their spirit energy to resist the punishment of the flames. Then, they realized that using the energy of the Dao crystal was even more effective. Hence, they quickly refined the Dao crystal. As for the other 2, Feng Si and Jing Yuqing did not make a move. They came from top immortal Dao sections. Naturally, they knew that there were many taboos in the inheritance grounds of Dao integration experts. The most common taboos were that they couldn't fight or scold others. Feng Si and Jing Yuqing looked at Jiang Xi and the other 2 in surprise. It seemed that these 3 late-stage golden core cultivators of unknown origins were also aware of these taboos. This was because Jiang Xi and the Wen siblings had not made any moves from the beginning. Even when faced with Qiao Xian and Fu Zai's sudden attack, they watched quietly. The 2 were even more curious about the origins of Jiang Xi and the Wen siblings. Could they be genius disciples from other top immortal Dao sects in the Zixiao region? There was no answer. They watched as Qiao Xian and Fu Zai desperately refined the Dao crystal and used the energy of the Dao runes to expel the flames on their bodies. Jiang Xi's expression was indifferent. However, the Wen siblings were in a good mood. Wasn't fighting at the inheritance altar the same as courting death? The punishment here, especially for non-Wen family members, was even harsher. Fortunately, the 2 attackers were both late-stage nascent soul cultivators. Moreover, they were top nascent soul cultivators. Otherwise, they would have been burned to ashes by the flames of the Leaf Fire Dao runes. Qiao Xian and Fu Zai took 10 minutes to expel the flames of the Leaf Fire Dao runes from their bodies. Their expressions were gloomy. They were furious and distressed. Not only had they wasted time, but they had also used up a total of 50,000 Dao crystals. They once again looked at Jiang Xi and the other two on the other side of the inheritance altar. At this time, Jiang Xi and the Wen siblings had already closed their eyes to continue comprehending the Leaf Fire Dao runes in order not to waste time. These three dogs. Qiao Xian cursed. He wanted to kill them, but he held himself back. The next moment, the Leaf Fire Dao runes around him turned into wisps of flames again and landed on his body. Qiao Xian's expression changed again. He hurriedly took out his Dao crystal and refined it frantically. Then, he used up another 50,000 Dao crystals. He originally had close to 250,000 Dao crystals. After the two punishments, he was left with less than 150,000. Qiao Xian was very careful and did not dare to make any more moves. If he violated any more taboos and used up all his Dao crystals, he would have no fate with the inheritance. Feng Si, Jing Yuqing, and Fu Zai, who had just been punished, were all secretly rejoicing. They no longer paid attention to Jiang Xi and the other two and began to observe the situation of the inheritance altar. After looking around, they realized that the dark red inheritance altar was extremely smooth and there was nothing particularly obvious about it. However, the four of them still noticed some differences. This place is similar to some of the Dao integration inheritance grounds recorded in the sect. By comprehending the Dao runes here, one can comprehend the inheritance left behind by a Dao integration expert. Feng Si and Jing Yuqing had read many ancient books in their respective sections. They were more familiar with such situations and quickly confirmed some of the details of the inheritance altar. The patriarch once said that comprehending the Dao runes would open the door. Although I don't know what the door is, the Dao runes must be the key. Qiao Xian's eyes shone. He recalled a spiritual consciousness exchange with the patriarch many years ago. The only abnormality is that the Dao runes of the heaven and earth Dao are denser here. It seems that comprehending the Dao runes is the key to obtaining the inheritance of that Dao integration expert. Although Fu Zai did not have any family inheritance or master, he had also grasped the key with his many years of experience exploring dangerous places in the universe. The four of them each had their own thoughts. Then, they each found a spot on the inheritance altar and began to comprehend the Leaf Fire Dao runes here. Nobody noticed the abnormality beneath Jiang Xi's buttocks. That was because the malevolent yang energy that surged up was completely absorbed and refined by Jiang Xi and did not dissipate. Furthermore, nobody would have thought that such a precious item would be sealed here. Therefore, Jiang Xi refined the malevolent yang energy in peace as his golden core transformed rapidly. At the same time, he was comprehending the Leaf Fire Dao runes. Time passed by and the gigantic inheritance altar was silent. 6 hours later, the silence was broken. Chapter 273. The one who broke the silence was the dignified and gentle elder sister of the Wen family, Wen Yoxin. More and more Leaf Fire Dao runes circled around Wen Yoxin. The Dao runes seemed to have been captured and attracted inexplicably. All of them entered Wen Yoxin's body and spread out. There seemed to be no change in the process. However, after this process, Wen Yoxin's body silently exuded the aura of a domain. This aura was extremely similar to the Leaf Fire Dao runes. Leaf Fire Domain. Jiang Xi opened his eyes and smiled when he sensed this aura. One of the Wen family siblings had already succeeded in comprehending it. Both of them had comprehended fire-related Dao true intent to begin with. Now, Wen Yoxin had used the Leaf Fire Dao runes here to comprehend the Leaf Fire Domain. Sister. Wen Feng was pleasantly surprised. He did not speak, afraid that he would disturb Wen Yoxin. Wen Yoxin was in the midst of an epiphany. The Leaf Fire Dao runes that seemed to have spirituality were helping her complete the condensation of her Dao domain. In the distance, the gazes of Qiao Xian and the others were also attracted by this scene. She comprehended it so quickly. Impossible. How many hours has it been? Although the Dao runes of the Heaven and Earth Dao left behind by that Dao integration expert are extremely dense here, even the geniuses of the Dao Alliance's 3 sects and 6 sects wouldn't be able to comprehend it in such a short time. Feng Si, Fu Zai, and Jing Yuqing were all in disbelief. Although Qiao Xian did not speak, his eyes were extremely sinister. He had a guess in his heart. There's another possibility. She's the inheritor of that Dao integration expert's bloodline. The other two must also be remnants of the Wen family. Qiao Xian glanced at Jiang Xi and Wen Feng. Previously, the Qiao family had sent more than 50 Golden Core clansmen to hunt down a male cultivator suspected to be a remnant of the Wen family. However, all of them died. That man happened to be a late-stage Golden Core. Qiao Xian locked his gaze on Jiang Xi. A late-stage Golden Core cultivator with a complete Dao domain. With such strength, he can easily kill more than 50 Golden Core cultivators. There were not so many coincidences in the world. He quickly connected the dots. The 3 before him must be the remnants of the Wen family. The Wen clan's inheritance was naturally prepared for the Wen clan's bloodline. Otherwise, the young lady would not have been able to comprehend the Daoist rhymes here so quickly. Moreover, when they came up just now, these 3 people were unscathed, as if they already knew about this place. If it wasn't for the fact that he was a remnant of the Wen family, it would have been impossible for him to be so familiar with the situation of the Dao integration stage inheritance ground. A mere late-stage Golden Core cultivator. Even if he obtains the inheritance, he needs to be alive to leave this place. This is the perfect opportunity to exterminate the remnants of the Wen family. Qiao Xian's eyes were filled with killing intent. With that in mind, he sent a message to his son, Qiao Sui, who was guarding the edge of the Sea of Fire. He asked Qiao Sui to lead his men to guard the entire core area. Meanwhile, the Leaf Fire domain that spread out from Wen Yoxin's body became more and more condensed as it rapidly took shape. Suddenly, the smooth surface of the inheritance altar around her lit up with complicated formation runes. When Yoxin woke up with a start, she only saw Jiang Xi nodding towards her. Then she disappeared in a flash of light. Qiao Xian and the others were stunned by this scene. What was going on? Feng Si from the Zhangyan sect and Jing Yuqing from the Four Symbols sect quickly reacted. That flash of light was the same as the teleportation array. Could there be another paradise? Was the inheritance there? One could enter after comprehending the Dao rhymes here. The 2 of them looked at each other and thought of the same thing. However, they did not say anything and continued to comprehend. She opened the door that the patriarch spoke of. Qiao Xian's eyes turned even colder. As expected, comprehending the Dao rhymes here is the key. Fu Zai confirmed his guess. Compared to them, Jiang Xi was not surprised. When Yoxin had comprehended the Leaf Fire Dao rhymes and naturally opened the door to receive the true inheritance. Between the Wen siblings, Wen Feng's comprehension ability was obviously weaker. It would probably take some time for him to comprehend something. Or, if his comprehension ability was worse, he would not be able to comprehend it at all. All in all, after 6 hours, more than half of the 30,000 Dao crystals on Wen Feng had been used up. Therefore, Jiang Xi gave Wen Feng another 30,000 Dao crystals. Wen Feng was once again extremely grateful. As long as he followed his uncle-granduncle, there was no need to ask about food and drink. Jiang Xi merely shook his head and chuckled. He still had more than 200,000 Dao crystals on him. Regardless of whether he could comprehend the Leaf Fire Dao rhymes, it was enough to support him in refining the Yang malevolent power. With 1,000 times faster Golden Core nurturing speed, he would only need 3 days to complete the transformation. I can only split a portion of my attention to comprehend the Leaf Fire Dao rhymes here. Let's see if I can comprehend it within these 3 days. Jiang Xi closed his eyes once more and calmed his heart to comprehend carefully. He did not have too many demands for the inheritance of the Duo Wen family. His goal was clear: he was here for the Yang malevolent power. If he used all his attention to comprehend the Leaf Fire Dao rhymes and failed, it would be all for naught. Just like that, another 8 hours passed. Wen Feng's aura also changed. The Leaf Fire Dao rhymes were attracted by him and drilled into his body before spreading out. The difference in talent and comprehension ability was reflected here. The Leaf Fire domain that spread out from Wen Feng's body condensed at a very slow speed. It took a long time before it was truly formed. Finally, the power of the domain that was released was clearly not as strong as Wen Yoxin's. The advancement was complete. Thereafter, he vanished in a flash of light as well. This time, Chao Xian and the other three's expressions did not change as drastically as before. In fact, Feng Si and Jing Yuqing were still casually guessing how long Jiang Xi would take to comprehend the Dao rhymes here. Chao Xian was even more certain that the three late-stage golden core cultivators were definitely remnants of the Wen family. After a day, Chao Xian and the others had yet to comprehend it successfully. The four of them were puzzled because Jiang Xi had yet to succeed as well. That was strange. In their opinion, since Jiang Xi possessed a complete Dao domain to begin with, shouldn't his talent and comprehension ability be even stronger? Why was he the slowest instead? How could they know that only a portion of Jiang Xi's attention was focused on comprehending the Leaf Fire Dao rhymes? The rest of his attention was focused on refining the Yang malevolent power. However, for people like Chao Xian and Fu Zai, the puzzlement only flashed through their minds and they did not think too much about Jiang Xi. That was because with the number of Dao crystals they had, they could only last less than 2 days in the blood-forbidden Leaf Fire array. Now that more than half the time had passed, they could only leave if they still did not comprehend it. Every second mattered. Soon, it was the 3rd hour of the 2nd day. Jiang Xi's heart skipped a beat. He felt that he had suddenly formed a connection with the Leaf Fire Dao rhymes that filled the sky. Some aura of the Leaf Fire true intent spread out from his body. He had also comprehended it. Chapter 274. Jiang Xi was pleasantly surprised. This was truly an unexpected gain. The Leaf Fire Dao rhymes that were filled with spirituality circled around his body, helping him condense the first wisp of Dao intent. In just a moment, the first wisp of Dao intent was successfully condensed. You have comprehended the Leaf Fire true intent, experience points plus 100,000. The experience panel prompt sounded at the right time. Upon hearing this, Jiang Xi reacted quickly. He ignored the complicated gazes of Chao Xian and the others as he continuously formed hand seals and slapped the surface of the inheritance altar. Beneath his buttocks, the formation runes used to release Yang fiendish qi instantly disappeared. Jiang Xi heaved a sigh of relief. Almost at the same time, another formation rune appeared on the surface of the altar around him. The light of teleportation appeared. Riverward didn't resist this teleportation power, and his figure disappeared. Chao Xian and the others were left behind as they looked at the place where Jiang Xi disappeared with complicated expressions. There was only a barren area. They did not discover the formation runes used to release Yang Qi. After cultivating for so many years, the four of them knew the importance of time. They quickly adjusted their emotions and continued to comprehend. The space changed. Jiang Xi appeared in an even hotter space, as if he was being roasted in a furnace. This is the second grotto heaven hidden in the Qianyang grotto heaven mentioned by Master in his inherited memories. The true ancestral land of the Wen family. He looked around. This space was not big, only tens of thousands of square meters. Countless complicated formation runes were engraved on the ground. Jiang Xi's eyes lit up. The true blood seal, Leaf Fire formation. Is that the core of the blood seal, Leaf Fire formation? Jiang Xi's gaze was locked in front of him. A wisp of strange dark red flame floated in the middle of the formation runes. Leaf Fire. The wisp of Leaf Fire that the Wen family's ancestor, Wen Yan, had left behind. The shocking heat here was emitted by the Li fire. There was also a faint charm that was in harmony with heaven and earth that spread from the wisp of Li fire. It was intoxicating and frightening. At this time, when Yoshin and Wen Feng were sitting cross-legged in the blood seal, Li fire formation, their hands were grasping the Wen family's ancestral seal unsealing technique. Of course, it was Jiang Ci who gave it to them later. The Wen clan's ancestral unsealing method had long been lost during their escape. That wisp of Li fire was being guided by the Wen siblings' unsealing technique. It was splitting into wisps of pure Li fire and slowly entering their bodies. It was obvious that their Li fire domain was rapidly growing stronger. At the same time, other inexplicable information was transmitted to their minds through the tiny wisps of Li fire. The so-called inheritance was not as simple as the Tao of fire. The siblings' minds were completely immersed in the inheritance, so they did not notice Jiang Ci's arrival. Jiang Ci realized that they were not continuing to refine the Tao crystal. As expected, entering the second paradise is equivalent to passing the test and gaining recognition. I don't have to worry about the threat of the blood-forbidden Li fire formation anymore. Otherwise, with the number of Tao crystals that the Wen siblings possessed, they would have been used up long ago after such a long time. Right now, the two of them were still peacefully receiving their inheritances. However, to be cautious, Jiang Ci still felt it carefully. The Li fire Tao runes that filled this space were 100 times denser than on the inheritance altar. However, the Li fire Tao runes here were not offensive. Jiang Ci was relieved and immediately stopped refining the Tao crystal. Then, he did not disturb the Wen siblings. His figure swayed slightly and he quietly arrived near the Li fire. The yang fiendish qi is sealed right below this wisp of Li fire. It can be released and absorbed here. With that thought, Jiang Ci formed tens of thousands of seals again and slapped them on the array runes below. Immediately, the yang fiendish qi surged up endlessly. Jiang Ci directly used the yin-yang nourishment technique to absorb and refine the yang fiendish qi. The speed of the golden core's nourishment increased by 1,000 times again. Earlier on the inheritance altar, his golden core had already completed half of its nourishment. Now that there was enough time, there was no need to worry about not having enough Tao crystals. When the golden core completely transformed, it would be over. Jiang Ci focused part of his attention on the nourishment of his golden core. At the same time, he looked at the wisp of Li fire. Compared to this wisp of Li fire condensed from the Tao of Li fire, the Li fire Tao runes on the inheritance altar is simply child's play. I'm not a member of the Wen family. I wonder if I can absorb and comprehend the Tao of Li fire using the Wen family seal unsealing technique. At this point, Jiang Ci did not want to miss this opportunity. Immediately, he used the rest of his attention to form a complicated seal unsealing technique. Buzz! The wisp of dark red Li fire trembled slightly, as if it was resisting. Indeed, it recognized one's bloodline. Jiang Ci was a little disappointed. However, at this moment, the wisp of dark red Li fire separated into a tiny flame. It emitted a terrifying aura and charged towards Jiang Ci, as if it wanted to destroy Jiang Ci's soul. Fuck! Jiang Ci was shocked. While dodging, he hurriedly dispersed the seal unsealing technique. However, it was too late at such a close distance. It's over. The wisp of Li fire directly drilled into his mind. Unexpectedly, the wisp of Li fire suddenly became gentle again. As if it had discovered something, it circled around his mind. Jiang Ci was stunned for a moment. Did I discover Master's memory inheritance? Or did I discover the experience panel? He thought for a moment and left the former guess. The experience panel was mysterious. Back then, Daoist Ge's remnant spirit had entered his mind in order to pass on his memory, but it did not discover the existence of the experience panel. This was only Wen Yan's wisp of Li fire, so it was even more impossible to discover it. Thank you, Uncle Master Wen Yan. Jiang Ci bowed respectfully to the Li fire, expressing his respect to the Uncle Master that he had never met. After doing this, he began to comprehend and absorb the wisp of Li fire in his mind. Soon, he completed the comprehension. You have comprehended the leaf fire inheritance, experience points plus 100,000, eh? Jiang Ci was stunned again. This scene was so familiar. When he was challenging the Lingwan Road on Earth, he had obtained similar experience points. That was the inheritance of the Gale Path. Jiang Ci was overjoyed. This was an unexpected surprise. 100,000 experience points each time. Moreover, because of his master's memory inheritance, the leaf fire no longer resisted him. He could complete the comprehension and absorption in almost a minute. His experience points increased rapidly. As for the wisp of leaf fire, it was also shrinking, although the speed was very slow. Qianyang Grotto Heaven, Inheritance Altar. Qiao Xian and the other three had been on the inheritance altar for a day and a half. For example, Qiao Xian and Fu Zai had consumed a lot of doctrine crystals because of the previous punishment. If they could not comprehend anything else, they could only leave in disappointment. Therefore, the two of them were very anxious. At this moment, the power of a domain filled with vitality suddenly spread out. It was Fu Zai, the famous starry sky hunter of the Blue Star region, who had broken through. Chapter 275. Fu Zai shut his eyes tightly. The domain power that was suffused with vitality was constantly shrinking and changing. Its might was also gradually increasing. In just a moment, his Dao domain finally stabilized and perfected Dao charms spread out. Like a withered tree receiving a new lease of life, one could clearly sense the rich vitality from afar. A complete Dao domain? I've long heard that Fu Zai was at the perfected nascent soul realm. Now that his Dao domain is perfected, he is now invincible among the nascent soul realm. Qiao Xian, Feng Si, and Zheng Yuqing were envious. Invincible among the nascent soul realm. The higher one's cultivation level, the more one could experience the power of being invincible among the same level. Especially after reaching the nascent soul realm, it was even more difficult to achieve that. As for situations where the weak defeated the strong, it was almost impossible to see among high-level cultivators. After all, those who could cultivate to the nascent soul realm and above were not weak. For example, Patriarch Qing Xian of the Pale Blue Star Zone was an expert who could defeat the strong despite being weak. He was famous throughout the Star Zone for that. However, what puzzled the trio was that after Fu Zai's Dao technique broke through, there was no movement from the inheritance altar. The teleportation that they imagined did not happen. Fu Zai was even more puzzled. He waited for a moment, but there was still no change. Could it be that only by comprehending the Dao technique left behind by this expert will I have the chance to receive the next inheritance? This thought surfaced in Fu Zai's mind as his expression changed. He thought that he only needed to form a connection with the Dao charms here. Therefore, he did not think of comprehending a new Dao technique. Instead, he used it to enhance his Dao domain. Fu Zai thought about it and could only sigh bitterly in the end. He did not have many Dao crystals left and had no time to comprehend a new Dao technique. I have neither a sect nor a master. After cultivating for 1,000 years, my cultivation level has long reached the perfected nascent soul realm. Now that my Dao domain is perfected, this trip is not completely fruitless. Although he was indignant, he could only console himself like that. As he did not have a master or a sect, his improvement in Dao technique comprehension was slower up until now. He had only comprehended 70% of the withered wood domain. The further one progressed in Dao technique comprehension, the more difficult it became. If not for this opportunity, it would probably take him another 500 years to cultivate the withered tree domain to the perfected realm. But now, he had used this place to achieve his goal ahead of time. It could be said that he had gained something. At that thought, Fu Zai stood up and cupped his fists at Qiao Xian, Feng Si, and Zheng Yuqing. Fellow Taoists, I'll take my leave first. Qiao Xian and the other two also cupped their hands in congratulations. As for why Fu Zai did not enter the next stage of the inheritance after successfully comprehending it, they all had their own guesses. Perhaps Fu Zai's Dao technique is not suitable for this heritage, thought Xiao Xian. It was obvious that the Tao of heaven and earth left behind by the Wen family's ancestor was related to fire. Those three Oris core stage cultivators had comprehended fire-related Tao arts. As for Fu Zai's Tao domain, it suffused rich vitality. It obviously didn't meet this requirement. My Tao technique is the blazing flame domain. In this aspect, I should have a huge advantage. Xiao Xian was filled with confidence. Feng Si and Xiao Xian looked at each other again. They seemed to have thought of something, but didn't say it out loud. Then, the three of them continued to comprehend the Li Fire Dao runes. On the other side, after Fu Zai obtained a complete Dao domain, his speed increased as he rapidly passed through the blood-forbiddenly fire array's sea of fire. At the edge of the sea of fire, the ordinary cultivators had either fled or died. They were nowhere to be seen. Only the 1,000-odd cultivators from the Qiao family, Zhangyan sect, and Four Symbols sect remained. These people did not stop Fu Zai. This was because they had already received the message from Xiao Xian and company. They were not to stop him. He was an invincible nascent soul expert. If he was truly angered, they would not be enough to kill him even if they joined forces. Fu Zai carried his twin sabers on his back. After leaving the core region, he chose not to leave the Qianyang Grotto heaven. He turned around and stood guard at the edge of the sea of fire. His gaze was fixed on the majestic inheritance altar. Those three late-stage Oris core stage cultivators have all entered the next stage of the inheritance. From the looks of it, they do know something. Treasures in this world belong to the strong. Perhaps I can obtain the final true heritage through them. Fu Zai had roamed the cosmos for hundreds of years. He was a powerful space hunter who believed in strength. He had given up at the inheritance altar because he had no other choice. The Tao integration inheritance was the greatest opportunity he had encountered since he started cultivating. He could not give up until the very end. Xiao Xian tried his best to remain calm and suppress the anxiety in his heart. He allowed himself to fully comprehend the Li Fire Dao runes. The reason why he was anxious was because he did not have many Dao crystals left. When he was left with only 10,000 Dao crystals. Suddenly, his expression lit up. The spiraling Li Fire Dao runes were drawn into his body by his guidance. He had also succeeded in comprehending. The blazing fire domain spread out. With the help of the Li Fire Dao runes, it shrank and increased continuously, rapidly approaching the perfected realm. In just a moment, the blazing fire domain, which was similar to the aura of Li Fire, emitted an even more scorching aura. A complete Dao domain. Another invincible nascent soul expert. Feng Si and Zheng Yuqing exchanged a bitter smile. Everyone else had broken through while the two of them, geniuses from top immortal Dao sects, fell behind. Xiao Xian was overjoyed as he waited for the teleportation to arrive. However, nothing happened after a while. His expression changed. Why? I clearly comprehended a fire-related Dao technique. Must I comprehend the exact same Dao technique as the Wen family patriarch to be qualified to receive the true inheritance? Many years ago, when he communicated with his patriarch through spiritual consciousness, the patriarch did not mention this. Damn it! Xiao Xian roared indignantly as the powerful blazing fire raged around him. He still wanted to use the Wen family's inheritance to break through to the essence soul realm. However, being invincible in the nascent soul realm was not his goal. However, he was now facing the same problem as Fu Zai. There was not enough time left with 10,000 Dao crystals. It was almost impossible for him to comprehend a new Dao technique. Although he was indignant, Xiao Xian did not dare to vent his anger here for fear of violating the taboo. There's still a chance to obtain the final inheritance through the three Wen family remnants. Xiao Xian left with a final glimmer of hope. However, Feng Si and Zheng Yuqing were deep in thought. They had previously read about similar Dao integration inheritances in the ancient books of their sect. Through the success of the three golden core cultivators and the failure of Fu Zai and Xiao Xian, they already had a definite answer in their hearts. So what if I'm indignant? If I can't even comprehend the Tao technique left behind by this expert, how can I accept his inheritance? The inheritance is also a selection process to choose a suitable successor. Apart from bloodline, it might also require talent, physique, Tao techniques, etc., to be compatible. They kept such guesses to themselves. Everyone was here for the opportunity, so they naturally could not say it out loud. Chapter 276. These two geniuses from the top immortal Tao sects had long considered this. Therefore, they had been carefully comprehending the Tao runes here from the start, attempting to comprehend the Tao techniques left behind by a Tao integration expert. They did not perfect their Tao domains like Chao Xian and Fu Zai. There's still a chance. Although Feng Si and Zheng Yuqing were anxious, they controlled their emotions well. A Tao crystal could last for 1 second. Both of them had more than 200,000 Tao crystals at the start. In other words, they could last for more than 2 days here. Now that 2 days had not passed, they still had a chance. As the saying went, hard work would definitely be rewarded. It was just a matter of how much. Soon, the 2 days were over. It was the 3rd hour of the 3rd day. Feng Si and Zheng Yuqing did not have many Tao crystals left either. At this moment, their hard work was finally rewarded. The two of them succeeded at almost the same time. The wisps of Li Fire Tao runes danced joyfully, emitting a shocking aura as they condensed the true intent of Li Fire. The two of them were overjoyed. They had succeeded at the last moment. A moment later, the true intent of Li Fire was formed. Runes of teleportation spell formations appeared around them. Crack crack crack, however, at this moment, terrifying cracks appeared on the magnificent inheritance altar. The ground shook as if it was about to collapse. The surrounding sea of fire shook violently, its aura weakening and about to be extinguished. A destructive aura spread from the depths of the inheritance altar. What's going on? This place is going to be destroyed? I haven't received the inheritance yet. This is the inheritance ground of a Tao integration expert. It's indestructible. At the edge of the sea of fire. More than 1,000 cultivators from the Chao family, Zhangyan sect, and 4 symbols sect surrounded the core area. Chao Xian and Fu Zai, the 2 new invincible nascent soul experts, stood guard in 2 different directions. They were all waiting. Since they could not obtain the inheritance of a Tao integration expert through the inheritance altar, then, he would obtain this opportunity from those 3 golden core stage cultivators. At this moment, they noticed a huge commotion in the sea of fire in front of them. As if there was a gust of wind, the shockingly powerful flames shook violently as if they were about to be extinguished. Some rose tens of thousands of feet high, while others sank to only an inch. At the same time, the earth was trembling. The inheritance altar is about to collapse. Someone exclaimed. Amidst the sea of fire, the inheritance altar that covered an area of more than 100 square kilometers was cracking and collapsing. A powerful destructive aura swept out and spread throughout the entire Qianyang cave. Huff huff, the shocking power of the sea of flames instantly vanished. They're coming out. Chao Xian and Fu Zai's eyes lit up. At the same time, he flew out. Let's go back in time a little. It was the 18th hour of the 2nd day after everyone ascended the inheritance altar. In the Qianyang heavenly abode, the 2nd heavenly abode that was like a furnace. The wisp of Li fire floating in the center of the blood-forbidden Li fire formation had already shrunk by half. The Wen siblings opened their eyes at the same time, ending the inheritance. The siblings were pleasantly surprised and were about to speak. Then, they saw that Jiang Xi was here as well. He seemed to be receiving an inheritance. The dignified and gentle Wen Yoxin quickly shook her head at Wen Feng. He indicated that he should not disturb this young martial granduncle. Afterwards, the two of them communicated with each other through their spiritual senses. Big sister, what level has your Li fire domain reached? 60%. Big sister is still the best. I'm only at 30%. Not bad. The ancestor left behind a wisp of Li Fire Dao with the intention of helping our clansmen improve their Dao techniques. However, even during our Wen clan's heyday, only the clansmen with top-notch comprehension had the opportunity to comprehend 30% or more of the Li Fire domain during the inheritance. Wen Feng nodded. In comparison, his talent and comprehension weren't bad. The Dao technique inheritance is only secondary. What's important is that our Wen clan's artifact forging inheritance has finally returned. When Yoxin said with a smile on her face, Wen Feng also smiled. The most important inheritance of the Wen clan, apart from the Dao techniques left behind by the ancestor, was artifact forging. 10,000 years ago, the Wen clan was a cultivator clan that was famous throughout the Zixiao region for its artifact forging. However, this inheritance had been severed after the clan was exterminated. The Wen clan had lost its foundation for its rise. Now, the siblings had regained this inheritance from the Li Fire left behind by the ancestor. The future was promising. Suddenly, Wen Feng's gaze focused. He saw the Li Fire that had shrunk by half. Big sister, why is the Li Fire left behind by the ancestor so much smaller? When Yoxin also looked at it and was stunned. The jade slip that they kept recorded that the wisp of Li Fire left behind by the ancestor was indestructible and had the ability to recover on its own. The small amount that the two of them had absorbed and refined wouldn't have any effect on the Li Fire. Then why was it so much smaller? At this moment, they noticed that the Li Fire that had shrunk by half split off a tiny dark red flame and drilled into Jiang Xi's mind. A minute later, the same scene appeared again. So fast? The siblings were shocked. When they received the inheritance just now, it took them more than an hour to completely refine and absorb a wisp of Li Fire. However, Jiang Xi only used a minute to complete the process. He was 60 times faster than them. Martial Granduncle's talent and comprehension are so terrifying. The two of them exclaimed. No wonder the Li Fire was consumed so quickly. If this continued, the Li Fire would be sucked dry by this young Martial Granduncle. The feelings of the Wen siblings were somewhat complicated. If this wisp of Li Fire was gone, then the Wen family's inheritance would also be gone. If it's gone, then it's gone. Even if this land of inheritance still exists, it won't fall into our hands. It will only benefit others. When Yoxin said. Yes, Martial Granduncle is not an outsider. After all, Ancestor Gu is also the creator of the land of inheritance. When Feng nodded, the siblings sighed and quietly watched Jiang Xi absorb and refine the Li Fire. After the inheritance, the two of them could have left through the teleportation array in this space. However, now that they saw Jiang Xi enter, they wanted to wait for Jiang Xi to leave together. What is that vigorous energy? When Yoxin discovered a wisp of yang qi that was escaping from Jiang Xi's body. I'm not sure. It's not recorded in the jade slip. Wen Feng was also surprised. The two of them realized that they couldn't see through this young Martial Granduncle anymore. Mysterious origin, terrifying talent, terrifying strength. Just like that, another hour passed. Jiang Xi's body suddenly shook. The endless stream of yang qi dissipated in an instant. At the same time, some nascent soul stage aura appeared on his body. He had completed the nurturing of the golden core. The golden core had completely transformed and could form the nascent soul at any time, becoming a nascent soul cultivator. Chapter 277. Jiang Xi opened his eyes, full of excitement and joy. The yin-yang nurturing technique that originally required 10 years had been shortened to less than 2 days. The process of forming the golden core into the nascent soul is extremely important. This environment is obviously not suitable. If someone from Chao's science group succeeded in comprehending and came to the second grotto heaven while he was forming the golden core into the nascent soul, that would be troublesome. Therefore, Jiang Xi dismissed the idea of forming the nascent soul here. However, although he was not at the nascent soul stage yet, the spirit energy in his body had already completed its transformation. Compared to before, the strength of his spirit energy had almost doubled. With the perfected Gale domain and sword intent, my combat strength should still be a little short of the invincible nascent soul stage. If I really meet them, I can still spar. The reason why Jiang Xi was so confident was because the sword intent was one of the best Dao intents. It was most suitable for battle. Ordinary Dao intents like Gale and Departing Fire were far inferior to sword intents in terms of amplification of attack power. Even an invincible nascent soul stage cultivator would have a perfected Dao domain. However, with the sword intent, Jiang Xi believed that he would not be too far off in terms of combat strength. At that moment, Jiang Xi saw that there was still yang qi gushing out endlessly. He smiled at the Wen siblings. The two of you, quickly refine this yang qi and nurture your golden core. Yang qi? The Wen siblings exclaimed. They had just received the Wen family's inheritance and knew how precious yang qi was as well as its effects. The two of them hurriedly sat down to absorb and refine it. This was another opportunity. Jiang Xi smiled. After his golden core completed its transformation, the yang qi was no longer useful to him. He took some time to look at the experience points and changes in his Dao techniques on the experience points panel. Experience points, 182. 51 million, Departing Fire True Intent, 1. 5 million, my experience points are almost 100 million more than before I entered the Chenyang Grotto Heaven. When I hunted the fire spirit previously, I obtained about 40 million experience points. After absorbing half of the Departing Fire inheritance, I obtained about 50 million more. Thinking of this, Jiang Xi turned his gaze to the wisp of leaf fire that had shrunk by half. After absorbing the remaining Ignis legacy, my experience points will exceed 200 million. In 1 minute, you can absorb and refine a wisp of leaf fire and gain 100,000 experience points. This was a speed of gaining experience that he had never experienced before. Jiang Xi really wished that martial uncle Wen Yan had left behind a few more wisps of Dao of Ignis. That way, he wouldn't have to worry about the lack of experience points for a long time in the future. Shaking his head, he threw this unrealistic thought aside. Next was the true meaning of leaf fire. 500,000 experience points. From this point of view, the true intent of leaf fire and the true intent of Gale are indeed true Dao intents of the same grade. Using the EXP panel to level up not only requires the consumption of EXP, but also requires the same amount of spiritual energy. If he spent 500,000 EXP, he would need to provide 500,000 points of spiritual energy. Such a huge number. In the past, Jiang Xi might have been worried, but now he was very relaxed. Isn't it just 2 10,000-year-old spiritual fruits? Since I'm free now, let's level up the true meaning of leaf fire to perfection. Jiang Xi directly took out 4 10,000-year-old spiritual fruits. 2 of them were tossed to the Wen siblings who were refining the baleful yang energy. The weather is quite hot. Quench your thirst. Wen Yoxin and Wen Feng were a little confused. Eating 10,000-year-old spiritual fruits as fruits? Wen Yoxin was even more surprised because Jiang Xi had taken out one in the dark market before. 10,000-year-old spiritual fruits were priced at 10,000 low-grade spirit crystals in Murong Planet's cultivation world. Moreover, there was a price but no supply. Now, their martial uncle casually threw one to each of them. He was a little rich. You're welcome. Jiang Xi smiled. Then, he snorted and ate one of them. The taste was very good. It was refreshing and delicious, especially relieving the heat of course. His actions were just a cover for the next level up. Feeling the huge amount of spiritual energy filling his body, Jiang Xi began to quickly level up the true meaning of leaf fire. In order to prevent the Wen siblings from noticing the abnormality, he deliberately slowed down the speed of improvement. Originally, it would only take 10 minutes, but he used half an hour to complete the process. True meaning of leaf fire, 500,000/500,000, perfection. After the golden core completed the transformation, the strength of spiritual energy doubled. Coupled with the Gale domain, sword intent, and true meaning of Leaf Fire, it should not be much different from an invincible nascent soul stage cultivator, right? Jiang Xi's confidence doubled. He left Earth and stepped into the starry sky again in order to reach the nascent soul stage and then have the strength to contend with an invincible nascent soul stage cultivator. He did not expect that after accidentally comprehending the true meaning of Leaf Fire, he would now achieve this goal in advance. Subsequently, Jiang Xi put all his energy into refining and absorbing the Leaf Fire inheritance. That wisp of Leaf Fire was constantly shrinking. At this time, Jiang Xi still did not know that two invincible nascent soul stage cultivators had been born on the inheritance altar. And these two people were guarding them outside. Just like that, 6 hours passed and the second day ended. The yang qi that was sealed here was finally completely released. The golden core of the Wen siblings, after being rapidly nourished by the yang qi, was also stronger than before and took a big step toward the nascent soul stage. The siblings were overjoyed and at the same time, were full of gratitude to Jiang Xi. Their changes were all brought about by their grand uncle. Originally, they did not even have the opportunity to enter the ancestral land of inheritance. But since the appearance of their grand uncle, they successfully came to the ancestral land of inheritance. Not only did they obtain the family's inheritance that had been lost for thousands of years, but they also refined this incomparably precious yang qi. Time passed, and soon it was the 3rd hour of the 3rd day. Puff, there seemed to be a soft sound. The wisp of Leaf Fire that had not been extinguished for thousands of years completely disappeared. The last wisp of dark red flame was also absorbed by Jiang Xi. Leaf Fire was exhausted. At this time, Jiang Xi suddenly opened his eyes, full of horror. He felt that there was a destructive aura that was surging up from the ground. Get out of here quickly! Jiang Xi did not even think about it and wrapped the Wen siblings in the Gale domain. He flew toward the teleportation array that they had just used to come to the second grotto heaven. But at this time, suddenly, a scene that seemed like the destruction of heaven and earth appeared. Rumble! The space of the second grotto heaven shook violently, as if it was about to collapse. The ground was cracking, and the runes of the blood prohibition Leaf Fire array were also damaged. The array was about to break. In the shocking cracks, fiery red earth core lava was violently churning. It emitted a destructive aura that would break the seal of the blood prohibition Leaf Fire array at any time and spurt out. Jiang Xi and the Wen siblings had just arrived at the teleportation array when they saw this scene. They were all shocked. Because this was not ordinary earth core lava. After being immersed in the Tao of Leaf Fire for thousands of years, this lava also had some of the power of Leaf Fire. But even if it was just a little, it was not something that Golden Core and Nascent Soul stage cultivators could resist. Quick, quick, quick! Jiang Xi hurriedly made a hand seal to activate the teleportation array. In a flash of light, the three of them disappeared. Chapter 278. At the same time, cracks that were a foot wide appeared on the inheritance altar and it was on the verge of collapse. The surrounding sea of fire was extinguished rapidly as well. Feng Si and Zheng Yuqing had bitter expressions on their faces. They had just succeeded in comprehending the Tao runes here and condensed the Tao technique left behind by that Tao integration expert. They were about to receive the true inheritance. However, they did not expect the inheritance altar to be on the verge of collapse. This situation made them extremely bewildered. The inheritance ground of a Tao integration expert was indestructible as long as it was not destroyed by external forces. Could it be because the three of them had already received the inheritance? Was this place going to self-destruct? Suddenly, a formation rune appeared in a part of the collapsing inheritance altar that was still intact. Three figures appeared amidst the light of teleportation. It's the three golden core cultivators. Feng Si and Zheng Yuqing's eyes lit up. Even though they did not have the chance to receive the inheritance, they could still obtain it from the three of them. Both of them were mid-stage nascent souls and their Tao domains were more than 70% complete. Their combat strength was comparable to late-stage nascent souls. Dealing with these three puny late-stage golden core cultivators was as easy as squashing ants. Hand over the inheritance and we'll spare your lives. Zheng Yuqing hollered coldly. Feng Xi's gaze turned cold as killing intent surfaced. Their domain powers were accompanied by immense spirit energy as they transformed into gigantic palms that reached out to grab Jiang Xi and the other two. Are you that confident? Jiang Xi laughed. The moment he was teleported out, he was prepared to strike. The Gale domain spread out and blocked Feng Xi and Zheng Yuqing's gigantic palms. At the same time, he formed fist seals with both hands. The true intent of leaf fire in his left hand and the true intent of sword in his right. The gigantic fist seals with shocking might smashed towards the two of them. After his golden core transformed, the strength of his spirit energy had doubled. Against nascent souls, his foundation was no longer as weak as before. Furthermore, the cultivation of these two opponents were only at mid-stage nascent souls. Jiang Xi was not afraid at all. Boom boom boom. On the inheritance altar that was on the verge of collapse, a gale raged and energy surged. Feng Xi and Zheng Yuqing's expressions changed. They did not expect this late-stage golden core cultivator to be so powerful. Us too. The Wen siblings attacked as well. Both of them had comprehended the leaf fire domain in the inheritance. Right now, one of them was comparable to a mid-nascent soul cultivator while the other was comparable to an early nascent soul cultivator. The inheritance of a Dao integration expert was not as simple as it seemed. The two leaf fire domains layered over each other. The Wen clan's siblings instantly attacked together. In addition, Jiang Xi threw another punch. The powerful aura shocked Feng Xi and Zheng Yuqing. They hurriedly retreated to avoid the combined attack of the three. These three late-stage gold core realm cultivators were too fierce. Don't fight! Jiang Xi shouted. The earth was trembling, and the inheritance altar was shaking violently. The blood-forbidden leaf fire formation had been unsealed following the destruction of the second paradise. The surrounding sea of fire had lost its original power. Jiang Xi sensed that many figures with astonishing auras were rapidly approaching this place. Once he was surrounded, he would not be able to escape. Retreat! Jiang Xi swung his sword and attacked. A perfected true intent of the sword wasn't any weaker than a Dao domain that had just been comprehended. Furthermore, because of the existence of the Gale domain, the power of the true intent of departing fire became even stronger. The fire borrowed the power of the wind, and the wind enhanced the power of the fire. With the three combined, the sword instantly reached the level of an invincible nascent soul realm cultivator. The powerful sword caused Feng Xi and Zheng Yuqing's expressions to change drastically. They hurriedly retreated, no longer daring to block Jiang Xi's group. After Jiang Xi broke free from their entanglement, he hurriedly activated the Gale domain to the maximum and led the Wen clan siblings away from this place. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. At this moment, thousands of figures flew over from all directions. They were surrounded. There were the Chao clan, the Zhangyan sect, and the Four Symbols sect. There was also the lone starry sky wanderer, Fu Zai. Fu Zai and Chao Xian were the fastest. They surrounded them from two different directions. The aura of spirit power and domain power they emitted shocked Jiang Xi. There are actually two invincible nascent soul realm cultivators. I can't fight them head-on. In this emergency situation, Jiang Xi remained calm and quickly observed his surroundings. In an instant, he saw the Chao clan's young master, Chao Sui, and nearly 100 Chao clan golden core cultivators coming from another direction. The scene of Chao Sui leading 800 golden core cultivators to attack him again and again was still vivid in his mind. Kill! Jiang Xi wanted to break through from there. Under the perfected Gale domain, even with the Wen clan siblings, his speed far exceeded that of a late-stage nascent soul realm cultivator. Whoosh! With a light wave of his sword, three types of Dao techniques converged. A terrifying aura comparable to an invincible nascent soul realm cultivator suddenly spread. Sui, be careful. Chao Xian's expression changed drastically. He immediately shouted a warning. However, his voice was not as fast as Jiang Xi's sword. The strange sword, accompanied by a gust of wind, seemed to be able to pierce through space. With a destructive intent, it instantly arrived in front of Qiao Sui and the 100 golden core cultivators. Qiao Sui's eyes widened in horror. He was only a mid-stage nascent soul realm cultivator. In the face of this extremely fast sword, he had no time to form a defensive move. Whoosh! With a sweep of the sword, Qiao Sui and the 100 golden core cultivators were cut in half. Instant kill. Ah! Scum of the Wen clan. Qiao Xian's eyes were about to pop out of their sockets. The son that he valued the most had been killed. In his anger, Qiao Xian's speed suddenly increased by 30%, and he instantly caught up with Jiang Xi. He was an invincible nascent soul realm cultivator, and his speed was only slightly slower than Jiang Xi's. In addition, Jiang Xi's sword just now had delayed him. Therefore, the distance between him and Jiang Xi was shortened. He swung his sword, wrapped in the blazing flame domain, and attacked Jiang Xi. Danger. Jiang Xi did not dare to be careless and swung his sword once again. Boom! The sword and saber collided instantly. Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled. A huge shockwave set off an energy storm that swept through the area. Several early-stage golden core cultivators were swept into the energy storm and their bodies exploded out of thin air. Such terrifying power! At this time, the Wen clan siblings were also attacking. Their flame domain overlapped, and they had the strength to fight a late-stage nascent soul realm cultivator. They blocked most of the attacks from the other nascent soul realm cultivators. In this way, Jiang Xi could focus on dealing with the attacks of the other powerful cultivators. However, Qiao Xian's attack just now had slowed down Jiang Xi's speed again. At this time, Fu Zai caught up from another direction. This invincible nascent soul realm cultivator made the dual saber attack even more ferocious. 200-meter-long saber lights crossed and attacked. Although they were full of vitality, they were like blades of death. What a strange attack! Riverward was extremely alarmed and once again used his strongest sword move. Gale Domain, Sword Intent, and Flame Domain. The huge sword shadow collided with the two saber lights. Boom! Under the fiery red sky, violent energy swept through. In addition, the earth was trembling violently, and the inheritance altar was about to collapse. It was as if the end of the world was coming. Chapter 279. This series of exchanges happened in the blink of an eye. It was extremely short. At this moment, a destructive aura surged up from the ground, breaking open the already cracked inheritance altar. A pillar of fire with a diameter of tens of thousands of meters soared into the sky with a blazing aura. With a rumble, the inheritance altar, which covered an area of hundreds of square kilometers, collapsed. A destructive storm erupted in an instant. Everyone was terrified and retreated as fast as they could. Some golden core cultivators and even late-stage golden core cultivators. Because they couldn't dodge in time, their bodies were annihilated by the destructive pillar of fire. Death upon contact. At this moment, Qiao Sui and the other golden core cultivators who blocked the way were all dead. The area in front of Jiang Xi was empty. Good chance. In such a terrifying situation, he didn't dare to stay any longer and turned to retreat. The spiritual power in his body surged, and the surrounding spiritual energy of heaven and earth gathered. The Gale domain was instantly activated, and his speed was maximized. Whoosh! Jiang Xi quickly left with the Wen siblings. The people who came from the other three directions could only watch as the three figures disappeared into the horizon because they were blocked by the terrifying pillar of fire. Too fast. So fast. Fu Zai and the others were shocked. Wen clan. Damn the Wen clan. As for Qiao Xian, his eyes were bloodshot. The power of fire that surrounded his body was the same as his anger, blazing ferociously. As the saying went, he tried to steal a chicken only to end up losing the rice used to lure it. He couldn't stop Jiang Xi and the others, and he even lost a son. Those three remnants of the Wen clan have the means to disguise themselves, but as long as they're on Murong planet, they can forget about escaping. The chill on Xiao Xian's body seemed to condense into water. He immediately sent a message to the nascent soul elders guarding the interstellar teleportation array to send more people and increase the strength of the blockade. None of the foreign cultivators should even think about leaving. At this moment, the entire core area of Qianyang Grotto Heaven was collapsing because of the pillar of fire. Shocking cracks were spreading in all directions. This place was going to be destroyed. No one dared to stay any longer and quickly rushed out of Qianyang Grotto Heaven. The outer ceiling array of Qianyang Grotto Heaven had long been unsealed. As long as they reached the border of the Grotto Heaven, they could rush out. The blue smoke lake, the entrance to the Qianyang cave, only covered an area of a few hundred square kilometers. However, the entire heavenly abode was incomparably huge, spanning over 1,000,000 square kilometers. Of course, with Jiang Xi's speed, he could cross thousands of kilometers in the blink of an eye. With the Wen siblings in tow, he soon saw the heavenly abode barrier that was shrouded in thick fog. Without any hesitation, he passed through it. After Xiao Qin came out, he saw that the thick fog covering a radius of 150 kilometers around Blue Smoke Lake was churning intensely. This huge commotion was caused by the light beam of destruction below the inheritance altar. However, the Qianyang Grotto Heaven was created by the combined efforts of two Dao integration stage cultivators. It would not be destroyed just like that. However, the destructive beam of light was tainted with the Dao of Li fire, and its power was astonishing. The environment inside the Grotto Heaven would definitely be destroyed and turned into a purgatory. Leave Murong planet immediately. Jiang Xi didn't stop for even a moment. He rushed towards the escape routes that he had arranged in advance. This was something that he had discussed with the Wen siblings. The two of them were also willing to leave. At this moment, the three of them had already changed their appearance and aura through the upper-grade spiritual tool disguise mask. As long as they didn't make a move, their identities wouldn't be exposed. Strong winds howled. In the blink of an eye, Jiang Xi had brought the Wen siblings to Qianyang City, which was 150 kilometers away. In a quiet courtyard. With a wave of his hand, Jiang Xi stirred up a gust of wind and lifted up a part of the courtyard's ground by 3 feet. It revealed a small teleportation array that he had set up in advance. He had even placed the spirit crystals in advance. At the same time, he explained to the Wen siblings with a smile, "Through this teleportation array, you can reach the vicinity of the interstellar teleportation array on Murong planet." "Great move, Uncle Granduncle," the siblings praised in unison. Jiang Xi smiled and made a hand seal to activate the teleportation array. He had set up 10 small teleportation arrays like this on Murong planet. 6 of them were near the interstellar teleportation array. He was fully prepared. In a flash of teleportation light, the 3 of them disappeared. When they reappeared, they were already thousands of kilometers away. At the same time, Xiao Xian and the other cultivators had just rushed out of the dense boundary of the Qianyang Grotto Heaven. Looking around the blue smoke lake, it was empty. Apart from them, there was no one else to be seen. Previously, because Jiang Xi and the other 2 had suddenly rushed into the sea of fire, they had not been able to kill the ordinary cultivators. They didn't manage to kill all the ordinary cultivators in time. In the end, nearly 5,000 of them managed to escape. As for these 5,000 people, because the Chao clan had sent people to seal off the interstellar teleportation array, they were unable to leave and were scattered all over Murong planet. Search. Search the entire Murong planet. Find those 3 Wen clan bastards. Xiao Xian shouted at the Chao clan cultivators. Immediately, several hundred golden core cultivators and 4 nascent soul cultivators of the Chao clan rushed to various places on Murong planet. Not only that, but under his orders, the Chao clan cultivators who had not entered the Qianyang Grotto Heaven. As long as they had reached the golden core stage, they had been sent out to search the entire Murong planet. The Chao clan's control over Morong Planet's cultivation world had always been forceful and overbearing. They had records of the cultivators' identities and information from all over the planet. As for the interstellar teleportation array, Chao Xian had already sent people to guard it. As long as someone tried to teleport out, no matter who it was, they would be immediately captured. Chao Xian believed that through such a search, they would definitely be able to find the 3 Wen clan bastards who had escaped. Fellow Taoists, I'm very sorry that something like this has happened. Please cooperate and don't leave Morong Planet for the time being. My Chao clan will offer you generous gifts as an apology. Chao Xian turned around and said to Fu Zai, Feng Si, and Jing Yuqing, generous gifts? I don't need generous gifts. If you can capture those 3, I hope you can let me search their souls first. Fu Zai said in a low voice. Fellow Taoist Fu Zai has already answered for me. Jing Yuqing smiled, his rugged face filled with shrewdness. I don't care if you search their souls or not. If your Chao clan can obtain the true inheritance from those 3, just let me take a look. Feng Si said. Chao Xian's face was gloomy as he pondered. These 3 nascent soul cultivators were either invincible nascent soul cultivators or had shocking backgrounds. With the patriarch in seclusion, it would be difficult for the Chao clan to resist the combined forces of these 3. Finally, he nodded and said, it's impossible to search their souls. If we can really obtain the inheritance, I can let you take a look. However, there's a condition. You have to swear an oath not to tell others about the inheritance. The 3 of them looked at each other, then smiled and nodded. Even the youngest among them, Feng Si, was close to 300 years old. The oldest, Fu Zai, was close to 1,000 years old. It could be said that they were all experienced and ruthless people. Naturally, they knew that the fewer people who knew about such a powerful inheritance, the better. Following that, the cultivation world of Morong Planet fell into turmoil and panic. Regardless of whether they were local cultivators or foreign cultivators who could not escape and could only sneak into various places, they were all searched. Although the local cultivators were panicking, as long as there was no problem with their identities, there was nothing to worry about. As for the foreign cultivators who had escaped earlier, they were all captured and sent to Blue Smoke Lake. Chao Xian and the others waited quietly outside Xianyang City. However, just a minute after he issued the order for a global search, he received a message. The one who sent the message was the Chao clan's nascent soul elder who was guarding the interstellar transportation array. After reading the message, Chao Xian's expression changed drastically. Nascent soul cultivator. Chapter 280. A minute ago. In a valley about 100 miles away from the Morong interstellar teleportation array, there was a flash of teleportation light. Jiang Xi and the Wen siblings came here through the teleportation array. Then, the 3 of them hid themselves and climbed to the top of a 10,000-meter tall mountain nearby, looking in the direction of the interstellar teleportation array. The interstellar teleportation array, which covered an area of 1 square kilometer, was located in a wasteland with a radius of 10 kilometers. Jiang Xi's spiritual sense was the strongest, so he quickly discovered that there were several interstellar teleportation arrays around. There were 4 powerful figures with nascent soul stage auras guarding the interstellar teleportation portal. One of them was a late-stage nascent soul cultivator. In addition, there were thousands of golden core cultivators. If it's just dealing with these people, it won't be a problem at all. But after dealing with them, Chao Xian and the others will definitely arrive here, and we won't have time to activate the teleportation array. Jiang Xi frowned in worry. The Chao clan's reaction speed and decisiveness had somewhat exceeded his expectations. Martial Granduncle, why don't we hide for a while and leave when the Chao clan's guards relax? Wen Feng suggested. That's not right. The Chao clan won't give up so easily. With the Chao clan's efficiency, they won't relax even if they guard it for thousands of years. When Yoxin shook her head. Jiang Xi said, Yoxin is right. Let's wait for an opportunity to act first. The Chao clan was able to persist in their pursuit for more than 6,000 years in order to exterminate the Wen clan's bloodline. This was enough to prove the Chao clan's style of doing things. Jiang Ci had just finished speaking. Suddenly, the situation changed and something unexpected happened. 100 miles away, the interstellar teleportation array lit up with a dazzling teleportation light. It was as if someone was teleporting from the distant stars. The thousands of Chao clan cultivators near the teleportation array immediately became alert and surrounded the interstellar teleportation array. After 3 breaths, the dazzling light dissipated. A young man wearing a purple Daoist robe and carrying a long sword appeared in front of everyone. There was a trace of malice on his handsome face. There seemed to be sword chi emanating from his sharp gaze. The sword chi faintly merged with heaven and earth. Purple Heaven Sect. On a mountain 10,000 meters away, Jiang Ci's gaze focused, and he hurriedly held his breath, lowering his aura to the lowest level, and completely retracted his spiritual sense. Even from 100 miles away, he didn't dare to use his eyes to observe the other party directly. He only used the corner of his eyes to look at the young man with a shocking aura. Because this young man from the Purple Heaven sect was a nascent soul cultivator. Experts at this level could easily detect the situation within a range of several thousand kilometers with their spiritual senses. At the very top, their spiritual senses could even cover an entire planet. If he looked directly at the other party, it might alert the other party. Once he was discovered, he would be in big trouble. Under his signal, the Wen siblings also did the same. The 3 of them did not dare to make the slightest movement. He was afraid that he would attract the young man's attention. At the same time, the young man's primordial soul stage aura intimidated the thousands of cultivators in the Chao family. No one dared to move. The late nascent soul stage Chao family elder was even more shocked. This was because he recognized the young man's origin through the purple Daoist robe. He quickly said respectfully, "Mu Rong Planet Controller Family Chao Fei welcomes Senior. Has the Qianyang Heavenly Cave opened?" The young man's voice was so cold that people couldn't help but tremble. "Senior, it opened 3 days ago." The family head sent a message saying that there are 3 late golden core cultivators who are suspected to have obtained the inheritance. Moreover, the 3 of them are very skilled at disguising themselves. The family head is currently sending people to search for their tracks, the Chao family elder replied respectfully. A cold glint flashed in the young man's eyes as he said coldly, "Tell your family head to immediately gather all golden core and nascent soul cultivators on this planet here." All of them. The Chao family elder was stunned. "Is there a problem?" Yes. The late nascent soul stage Chao Fei didn't dare to raise any more questions and hurriedly sent a message to the family head, Chao Xian. In less than 5 minutes, Chao Xian, Feng Si, Fu Zai, Jing Yuqing, and thousands of other cultivators had arrived. They had rushed here from Qianyang City, which was 50,000 kilometers away. Seeing the young man's purple Daoist robe, the expressions of Chao Xian and the others changed. Although they had already received the message, seeing it with their own eyes now was even more shocking. This was a primordial soul cultivator from the Purple Heaven sect. The Purple Heaven sect was one of the core 3 gates and 6 sects of the Tao Alliance. It was a colossus in the universe. Although this primordial soul cultivator looked young, he might have already lived for thousands of years. The 4 of them didn't dare to delay and hurriedly bowed respectfully. Chao Xian, Fu Zai, Feng Si, and Zheng Yuqing greet Senior. "My name is Daoist Changbai." The young man said expressionlessly. The 4 of them bowed again. "What's the current situation in Qianyang Grotto Heaven?" Daoist Changbai's gaze locked onto Chao Xian. Chao Xian didn't dare to hide anything and described the situation of Qianyang Grotto Heaven, which was almost completely destroyed. At the same time, golden core and even nascent soul cultivators continuously arrived. Under the strict orders and coercive methods of the Chao family, they came from all over Murong planet to this wasteland where the interstellar transportation array was located. Soon, the number exceeded 10,000 and was still increasing. After hearing Chao Xian's description, Daoist Changbai remained silent. Facing an primordial soul cultivator of such a background, no one dared to speak. Until night fell. Close to 20,000 cultivators had already gathered in the wasteland with a radius of 10 kilometers. Almost all of them were at the golden core stage, with only a dozen or so at the nascent soul stage. Among these cultivators, there were more than 10,000 local cultivators. There were also more than 5,000 foreign cultivators who had been found and forcibly brought here. Qiao Xian said respectfully, Senior Changbai, all the local and foreign cultivators of Murong planet are basically here. There are still a few who live in seclusion and are currently being searched. As he said this, he was extremely puzzled. He didn't know what this primordial soul cultivator from the Purple Heaven sect wanted. Daoist Changbai was expressionless as he stood in the air, his indifferent gaze sweeping across the wasteland. At this moment, the wasteland was extremely noisy and chaotic. The cultivators who had been forcibly gathered here by the Qiao family looked at the group of powerful figures in front of the interstellar transportation array. Some were dissatisfied, some were curious, and most were terrified. They didn't know what would happen. Humph! Daoist Changbai snorted coldly. Rumble. Under the night sky, thunder rumbled and dark clouds covered the sky. A suppressive force that seemed to originate from heaven and earth enveloped the wasteland with a radius of 10 kilometers. Those noisy cultivators seemed to have been cast with a body-fixing spell, and all of them were rooted to the spot. They couldn't move, couldn't speak, and only had fear in their eyes. They had been completely imprisoned. There was a deathly silence. Qiao Xian, Fu Zai, Feng Si, and Jing Yuqing were all experienced and knowledgeable people. Especially Feng Si and Jing Yuqing. Both of them came from top immortal sects, and their respective masters were all primordial soul cultivators. Therefore, they were well aware of the means of a primordial soul cultivator. The four of them were shocked, but more so bewildered. They were all trying to guess what Daoist Changbai was up to. Chapter 281. On a 10,000-meter-high mountain 100 miles away. Jiang Ci hid himself and only used the corner of his eye to observe Daoist Changbai and the wasteland where the interstellar transportation portal was. There were nearly 20,000 cultivators in the wasteland with a radius of 10 kilometers. Other than Qiao Xian and the others, the rest were all imprisoned in place. He and the Wen siblings were 100 miles away from the interstellar transportation portal, so they were not restrained by Daoist Changbai. What is he trying to do? Jiang Ci frowned and had a bad feeling. At this moment, he saw Daoist Changbai move in the air. This nascent soul stage cultivator with a handsome face and a slightly sinister aura reached out and grabbed at the air in front of everyone. A mid-Aurus core stage cultivator uncontrollably flew out of the crowd and landed in front of Daoist Changbai like a puppet. To be more specific, the top of this person's head happened to be in the palm of Daoist Changbai's outstretched hand. On the surface, Daoist Changbai did not do anything else. However, in just 10 seconds, the mid-Aurus core stage cultivator's breathing went from stable to disorderly and then to completely silent. He was dead. Daoist Changbai's expression did not change as he casually tossed the corpse aside. Then, he repeated his actions and grabbed in the air. Another late Aurus core stage cultivator flew out of the crowd. 10 seconds later, another person died. Soul search. Jiang Ci's eyes narrowed. It was an extremely domineering soul search that did not care about the life or death of the person being searched. He was very familiar with this situation. This was because he had studied the soul search technique from Daoist Ge's inherited memories and had already mastered it. He's looking for something. When he saw Daoist Changbai complete the soul search on 10 golden core stage cultivators in just 2 or 3 minutes as if he was catching chickens, this thought surfaced in Jiang Ci's mind. Purple Heaven Sect. Could he be looking for something left behind by Master? Only the Purple Heaven Sword Manual could be so important to him. Several clues were connected in his mind. First, when he first became Daoist Ge's disciple, Daoist GE's first task was to deliver the Purple Heaven Sword Manual to the Purple Heaven sect within 100 years. Secondly, the Violet Firmament Sword Manual was one of the most important inheritances of the Violet Firmament sect. Just by looking at its name, one would know. The Violet Firmament Sword Manual was named after the Violet Firmament, so how could it not be important? Daoist Gu was the only inheritor of the Purple Firmament Sword Sutra. If he died, the inheritance would be severed. Thirdly, 10,000 years ago, Daoist Gu had once protected the previous ruler of Murong Planet, the Wen clan. Daoist Gu had even contributed greatly to the establishment of the Wen clan's ancestral land. Shizhuan tricked me. This was the third time Jiang Xi lamented. Earlier, before he had entered Qianyang Cave, he had learned an important piece of information from the Wen siblings. More than 6,000 years ago, when Daoist Gu died in the Heaven and Earth Spirit Lock formation, his life slip shattered. Half a day later, the Daoist child of the Wen clan's ancestor, Wen Yan, who was also the ancestor of the Chao clan, Chao Chongsheng, arrived with 3 mysterious primordial soul stage cultivators. Daoist GE's protection of the Wen clan was wiped out. After that, the Chao clan took over the Magpie's Nest and became the new ruler of Murong Planet. How did Chao Chongsheng learn of Daoist GE's death so accurately and in such a timely manner? Moreover, Daoist GE's life slip could only be found in the Wen clan and the Purple Heaven sect. The life and death of a Dao integration expert was definitely a big secret. The Wen clan would not be foolish enough to leak the news of Daoist GE's death. The answer to who leaked the news was self-evident. 3 days ago, Jiang Xi had accidentally overheard a conversation between Feng Si and the others and learned another important piece of information. For more than 6,000 years, the Chao clan had turned Murong Planet, which belonged to the Dao Alliance, into a private territory. However, the Dao Alliance had never pursued this matter. The Dao Alliance's heavenly court office on Murong Planet was like a decoration. Even the Four Symbols sect, which ruled the Minglan Star region, did not want to provoke the Chao clan on Murong Planet. One must know that Murong Planet belonged to the Minglan Star region and was under the jurisdiction of the Four Symbols sect. All of this pointed to a single point. Behind the Chao clan stood the Purple Heaven sect. Only this colossus that ruled the Zixiao region could cause the Four Symbols sect to be wary of it. After all, the Minglan Star region was within the Zixiao region. The destruction of the Wen clan more than 6,000 years ago was for the Purple Heaven Sword Scripture? Or was it purely for the sake of destroying those related to Master? Or was it for both purposes? Daoist Changbai was so cruel that he treated human lives like grass and killed people like chickens. If I go to the Purple Heaven sect, I'm afraid I'll be treated the same way, right? Jiang Xi felt helpless. He claimed to be the disciple of a Dao integration expert, but Daoist Gu was already gone. Without a backer, there was no point in saying anything. If he went to the Purple Heaven sect like a fool, the result was predictable. For the Purple Heaven Sword Scripture, the people of the Purple Heaven sect would definitely search his soul. This was because they could not be sure if the Purple Heaven Sword Scripture that Jiang Xi took out was complete. Only by searching his soul would they be able to guarantee its authenticity. When Yoxin and Wen Feng turned to look at Jiang Xi, both of them were full of worry. They were not worried about the Purple Heaven sect, but how to leave. Daoist Changbai's appearance made them lose their chance to take action. How could they teleport under the nose of a nascent soul cultivator? 20 minutes passed in the blink of an eye. Daoist Changbai was still searching the soul of a golden core cultivator in 10 seconds as if he was killing chickens. He did not even take the time to grab the person. Hundreds of golden core cultivators had already died from his domineering soul searching. At this rate, close to 20,000 cultivators would be buried in the wilderness in 3 days at most. Due to the restraints, these people couldn't speak or move. The fear in their eyes grew stronger and stronger. They could only wait for death to descend. Anger and despair. Feng Si, Fu Zai, and Zheng Yuqing kept quiet out of fear, their faces even turning pale. They did not expect that this nascent soul cultivator from the Purple Heaven sect would be so cruel. Previously in the Qianyang Grotto Heaven, the four factions joined forces to kill more than 10,000 cultivators in order to fight for the opportunity. Each of them killed an average of 10 people. Although it was cruel, it was definitely not as cruel as this Daoist Changbai who wanted to kill 20,000 people alone. He was 1,000 times more ruthless than them. They were also guessing that Daoist Changbai might be looking for something. Perhaps he was not looking for the Dao integration inheritance of the Qianyang Grotto Heaven. After all, the number of Dao integration cultivators in the Purple Heaven sect was not small. As a nascent soul cultivator of the Purple Heaven sect, Daoist Changbai did not need to do such a cruel thing for a Dao integration inheritance. Compared to the three of them, Chao Xian was the apparent ruler of the Murong planet. While they were frightened, they were more indifferent and even delighted. Because of the 20,000 cultivators, more than 10,000 of them were native cultivators of the Murong planet. It would be best if they were all dead. Then, the Chao clan would be able to monopolize all the cultivation resources of this fourth-grade life-preserving planet. The only pity was that because of Daoist Changbai's appearance, the Wen clan's inheritance might not be fated with the Chao clan. Chapter 282. Jiang Ci was also worried about the problem of leaving Murong planet. If Daoist Changbai was doing this for the Purple Cloud Sword scripture, then the purpose of this wanton soul-searching was very obvious. It must be to search for the person who obtained the Wen clan's inheritance in Qianyang Grotto Heaven, which was him and the Wen clan siblings. He wanted to see if he could find the Purple Cloud Sword scripture through the three of them. What was certain was that this Daoist Changbai didn't know whether Daoist Gu had left the Purple Cloud Sword scripture here, and was just holding on to a glimmer of hope. However, Jiang Ci was very clear that even if Daoist Changbai soul-searched all the 20,000 cultivators, he wouldn't get anything. Unless he could find him and the Wen clan siblings. Therefore, this was the problem that Jiang Ci was most worried about. If after Daoist Changbai soul-searched, he didn't find the three people who had obtained the inheritance among those people, he would definitely guess that the three of them were still hiding somewhere on Murong planet. At that time, this nascent soul cultivator would very likely make the same choice as the Chao clan and search the entire Murong planet. Even if he was more ruthless, he would also kill the Chao clan. A nascent soul cultivator's spiritual sense could easily cover thousands of kilometers. Under this kind of search, if he and the Wen clan siblings were still on Murong planet, there was nowhere to hide. Even a high-grade spiritual artifact disguise mask would lose its effect in front of Daoist Changbai. In the end, he could conclude that this was a dead end. What to do? Jiang Ci's brows were tightly knitted, his mind turning rapidly, trying to keep calm. At this time, the Chao clan people were still searching all over Murong planet, forcibly bringing some cultivators who were hiding, or even in closed-door cultivation, here. Scattered, the number of people was still increasing by a small margin. Soon, 2 days passed. On the wasteland where Murong planet's interstellar teleportation array was located, there were more than 4,000 Jindan cultivators. However, there were even more dead people. In this wasteland, there were more than 10,000 corpses piled up into a mountain. On the wasteland, there was a deathly silence. There were no rivers of blood, only gusts of cold wind. Incomparably terrifying Daoist Changbai was still repeating the soul-searching actions, his expression didn't change. From his performance, he wouldn't give up until he achieved his goal. On the third day, the sky was bright. However, no one felt the slightest bit of warmth from the light. Even Chao Xian and the other three were completely stunned. Tens of thousands of people had died in the war, and watching one person indifferently slaughter tens of thousands of people, the feeling it brought was completely different. Finally, the expression on Priest Changbai's face changed. He frowned slightly. He had already searched the souls of more than 10,000 people, but he still hadn't found the 3 golden core cultivators who had obtained the inheritance in Qianyang Cave Heaven. However, when he saw that there were still 6,000 to 7,000 people left, and that the Chao clan was still sending over some of the fish that had escaped the net, he was shocked. Daoist Changbai's brows relaxed. Just kill them all. In his heart, even the lives of 1,000,000,000,000 people were not as important as the purple firmament sword scripture. 1,000,000,000,000 people, which was the number of life forms on 100 life planets. The Zixiao sect, on the other hand, was a massive immortal Dao sect that ruled over the entire Zixiao region. The number of planets under his control couldn't even be measured in terms of hundreds of millions. Therefore, the lives of these 20,000 people were not worth mentioning when compared to the important inheritance of the Purple Heaven sect. So be it. Daoist Chang Bai coldly reached out and grabbed another late-stage golden core cultivator. He was about to search his soul. However, at that moment, the nearby interstellar transportation formation lit up. His movements paused. Everyone's attention was drawn over. They were puzzled. Who would be teleporting over at this time? The light of the transportation formation dissipated, and a figure appeared in the interstellar transportation formation. It was a middle-aged man with a tuft of beard on his chin. His eyes were full of vicissitudes of life, and he gave off a dignified yet kind feeling. However, the most eye-catching thing was not his appearance. Instead, it was the aura of a nascent soul cultivator. Everyone was shocked. Even Daoist Chang Bai frowned again. When he saw this person, Qiao Xian felt that things were getting more and more out of hand. The first to react were the disciples of the Four Symbols sect. Hundreds of disciples, led by Jing Yuqing, flew over and bowed. Greetings, sect master. The newcomer was the sect master of the Four Symbols sect, Yishan. Then, Qiao Xian, Fu Zai, Feng Si, and the other nascent soul cultivators also bowed. In terms of status, Yishan was not inferior to Daoist Chang Bai. After all, the Four Symbols sect was a top immortal Dao sect that ruled an entire star region. Yishan nodded slightly, then turned his dignified gaze to Daoist Chang Bai. Chang Bai, that's enough. Do you know what I'm looking for? Daoist Chang Bai replied coldly. The only one on the Murong planet that's related to the Purple Heaven sect is the Wen clan that was sheltered by Senior Gu 10,000 years ago. The Wen clan's Qianyang cave has just opened. I'm sure you're looking for something left behind by Senior Gu, right? Yishan chuckled. Since you know, why are you stopping me? Daoist Chang Bai asked. Yishan did not answer directly. Instead, he used his spiritual sense to speak. The Murong planet is a planet of life in the Minglan star region. Nominally, it's under the jurisdiction of the Four Symbols sect. You've massacred the cultivators of the Murong planet and these foreign cultivators. If word gets out, where will I put my face as the sect master of the Four Symbols sect? Where will the Four Symbols sect put its face? Daoist Chang Bai's expression was cold and unmoved. This was because Yishan's reason was obviously untenable. Just for face? How many people who have lived for thousands of years care about face? Yishan continued to speak. You're soul-searching just to find something left behind by Senior Gu. Maybe it's on someone here. I have a suggestion. Let these people swear to the natural law that they didn't find anything left behind by Senior Gu on the Murong planet. If they don't dare to swear to the natural law, there must be something wrong with them. In this way, you'll achieve your goal and the Four Symbols sect's face will be saved, right? After the conversation, Yishan wore a smile on his face. No one could tell what he was thinking. Daoist Chang Bai was expressionless, but he had to admit that Yishan's suggestion was feasible. Cultivators didn't swear easily because it was a taboo. Because cultivators were different from ordinary people. With spiritual force and soul sense, they would have some kind of connection with heaven and earth. Especially when they swore to the natural law would respond when the oath was completed. Once violated, the oath would definitely take effect. Daoist Chang Bai had considered letting these people swear before, but he thought it was too troublesome and not as fast as soul-searching. In the face of Yishan's suggestion, he thought about it and finally nodded in agreement. Of course, there was another main reason. He was a little wary of Yishan because Yishan was not far from Dao integration. Furthermore, he was only at the early stage essence soul realm. In the next moment, dark thunder rumbled in heaven and earth. At that moment, there were still close to 10,000 cultivators who had yet to be soul-searched who were released by Taoist Changbai. These people were terrified but did not dare to escape. Chapter 283. Looking at the panicking cultivators in the wasteland, Ishan chuckled and said loudly, "If you want to live, come and line up to make an oath. Swear to the heavenly Tao that you didn't obtain anything left behind by Taoist Gu of the Purple Heavens sect on Murong planet. Otherwise, you'll be struck by lightning and die." His words spread throughout the wasteland. On a 10,000-meter tall mountain 100 miles away, Jiang Xi's eyes lit up. Although he didn't know what kind of confrontation the two nascent soul cultivators had just had, it was obvious that his opportunity had come. "I still have to observe and see what the situation is like." Jiang Xi remained calm. He also signaled the Wen siblings to calm down and not be agitated. At the same time, the nearly 10,000 cultivators who had just been released by Taoist Changbai and were still in a state of panic were overjoyed. Although swearing to the heavenly Tao was a taboo, it was definitely not a problem to make this oath. Because they really didn't obtain anything left behind by Taoist Gu. Therefore, everyone hurriedly lined up. They were very orderly and didn't fight for anything. Taoist Changbai frowned slightly. He felt that Ishan had ulterior motives, but he didn't find anything wrong. Was it really just for face? First of all, there was definitely nothing wrong with this oath. It could indeed filter out the three people who had obtained the inheritance in Shenyang Grotto Heaven. Secondly, with his cultivation, he had already comprehended a Tao of heaven and earth. He could sense the fluctuation between heaven and earth when these cultivators completed their oaths. Therefore, he didn't have to worry about people making false oaths. From this point of view, Shan's actions were also considered for him. Because Ishan had taken the initiative to ask these people to line up and make the oath. The only thing was that in terms of efficiency, this method was much slower. Soul search one person every 10 seconds. One person every half a minute. In a day, less than 3,000 people could complete it. After thinking about it, Taoist Changbai didn't say anything. After all, he had already promised Ishan. Soon, everyone was in line. One by one, they swore in front of Ishan and Taoist Changbai, "Dainyu, swear to the heavenly Tao that I'm not on Murong planet. Otherwise, I'll be struck by lightning and die." Wang Er, loud voices sounded one after another, echoing in the wasteland. After everyone completed their oaths, because no one said anything, they didn't dare to leave. They gathered on the other side of the wasteland. It's about time. After watching for a day, when more than 3,000 people had completed the oath, no one had died because of it. Jiang Xi made up his mind. He didn't use his spiritual sense, but signaled the Wen siblings to follow him with his eyes. Then, the three of them quietly descended from the 10,000-meter tall mountain without making any noise. He returned to the valley below. The teleportation formation he had set up earlier was still intact. "Fortunately, I didn't destroy the teleportation array when I came." Jiang Xi secretly rejoiced. Then, he formed a hand seal to activate the formation. The three of them disappeared into the light of the teleportation formation in an instant. The 10,000-meter tall mountain happened to block the light. But in the end, when the teleportation was completed, the ripples spread out. 100 miles away, Taoist Changbai and Ishan both frowned and disappeared. In the next instant, he appeared in the sky above the valley. Teleportation array. As soon as the two of them arrived, they saw the small teleportation array in the valley. Right at this moment, the transport formation trembled lightly. A portion of it shattered and was destroyed. A cold light flashed in Taoist Changbai's eyes. His spiritual sense instantly spread out 3,000 kilometers. He carefully examined the area, but in the end, he didn't find anyone who had just finished teleporting. The only thing he found was that on the 10,000-meter tall mountain next to him, there were still faint remnants of the aura of three cultivators. It seemed that they had stayed there for a long time. Daoist Changbai was a little angry. There were actually 3 people who had been hiding right under his nose for 3 days, and then they had just swaggered away by teleporting away. Sect Master Ishan, did you find anything? Daoist Changbai asked coldly. With his early-stage nascent soul cultivation, the limit of his spiritual sense was 3,000 kilometers. Ishan, on the other hand, was in the late-stage nascent soul realm. His spiritual sense could reach 10,000 kilometers. It seems that the other party is very cunning. Ishan shook his head. His gaze inadvertently swept across the teleportation formation that had self-destructed, and he seemed to be deep in thought. Humph. Killing intent appeared in Daoist Changbai's eyes. A sword chi shot out and landed in the valley. Boom! The earth cracked, and the entire valley and the surrounding mountains all collapsed. The mountains were moved and the sea was filled. The mountain range quickly turned into a large swamp. The chill on Daoist Changbai's body shot straight into the sky. Then, his figure flashed, and he returned to the wasteland where the interstellar teleportation formation was. Chao Xian, increase the search. If there's a single golden core cultivator missing, I'll destroy your Chao clan. Daoist Changbai said coldly. Chao Xian's expression changed abruptly. He hurriedly sent a message to the clan members in charge of the search. At this time, there were still more than 5,000 cultivators left in the wasteland who hadn't taken the oath. In addition, the Chao clan members were still constantly bringing golden core cultivators from all over planet Murong to this place. Daoist Changbai didn't give up on screening these people. This was because he couldn't be sure if the ones who had escaped through the teleportation formation were the 3 people who had received the inheritance. About 10,000 kilometers away, on a barren island in the easternmost sea of planet Murong. Jiang Xi had just teleported here when he destroyed the small teleportation formation in front of him with a single palm strike. He had previously set up 10 small teleportation formations, excluding the 6 near the interstellar teleportation formation. This one was the closest to the one in the valley. The time required to teleport was also the shortest. If he teleported to other places, such as the one in the small courtyard in Qianyang City, the distance would be a full 108,000 kilometers, and the teleportation time would definitely be longer. He might be discovered before the teleportation was even successful. Therefore, he chose to teleport here. Whether or not we can leave planet Murong will depend on this. Take off your disguise masks and don't hide anything. Use your true faces. Jiang Xi said to the Wen clan siblings when Yoshin and Wen Feng nodded and took off their masks, revealing their true faces. Both of them were quite good-looking. They looked like youths. The elder sister, Wen Yoshin, was dignified and gentle. She looked like a kind big sister next door. The younger brother, Wen Feng, also had a scholarly aura. He looked like a young scholar who was rushing to take the exam. We'll split up. If we can muddle our way through this time, we'll gather on planet Sanglan. Remember that, right? Jiang Xi said. Don't worry, Marshal Granduncle, the siblings said in unison. Then, the 3 of them split up and flew away from the island in 2 different directions. Jiang Xi's plan was very simple. They would find a city and purposely let the Chao clan discover them. Then, they would borrow the Chao clan's hands to go to that wasteland and muddle their way through. Therefore, they had to take off their disguise masks, which were only high-grade spirit artifacts. If they wore masks, with Daoist Changbai and Ishan, 2 nascent soul cultivators, their disguise would be useless. Their disguises would have no effect and would instead arouse suspicion. Chapter 284. The Wen siblings had always been wearing disguise masks and had never revealed their true appearances in front of outsiders. After taking off their masks, it was actually safer. However, there was a hidden danger in Riverward. When I first came to Murong Planet, the Chao family had secretly followed me. There are many Chao family cultivators in the wasteland. Maybe someone knows my true appearance. Jiang Xi thought for a moment. Dozens of fine sword rays appeared in his hand, and then he wiped his face. Instantly, dozens of hideous wounds appeared on his face, and blood flowed out. But his expression did not change, and he immediately used the true meaning of Li fire. A ball of dark red flame appeared in his hand, and he applied it to his face. Chi chi, the sound of burning flesh and blood was heard. Those hideous wounds immediately condensed into scars. But it was not over yet. He used gale to brush these scars many times. He completed the final aging process of the wind. After a few breaths, these scars became like they were left behind many years ago. His face was full of scars and full of bumps and hollows. It was unrecognizable. He changed his clothes and changed his hairstyle. Jiang Xi had completely changed. True appearance. This time, even Yoxin and Wenfeng can't recognize me. In order to survive, Jiang Xi also became ruthless. This operation damaged the foundation of the wounds on his face, and it was very difficult to recover. He could not recover until he reached the nascent soul stage. But compared to survival, what was appearance? Even if he had to cut off his limbs, he would still do it. Of course, Jiang Xi was not worried that he would be permanently disfigured. As long as he could escape this crisis, reaching the nascent soul stage was only a matter of time. Under Jiang Xi's hideous face, his gaze was incomparably resolute. Next, he had to fight. Staying on Murong planet was waiting for death. If he went to the wasteland and fought, he might still have a chance to survive. He flew all the way, and soon arrived at a secular country near Murong planet's far east sea. He did not hide his figure, and the aura of a late-stage Jindan spread out without restraint when he flew to a big city in this secular country. A group of Chao family Jindan cultivators flew in front of him. A team of 10 golden elixir cultivators from the Chao family did not give Jiang Xi any chance to resist. Relying on their numbers, they forcibly took Jiang Xi away. Of course, Jiang Xi was happy to see this, but he deliberately put on a fierce and angry look. He cursed along the way and deliberately slowed down. 15 minutes later, he was brought to the wasteland where the interstellar transportation portal was located. He had left the teleportation array in the valley and arrived here. Almost half a day had passed since then. At this moment, in the wilderness, the 5,000 cultivators who had completed their oaths stood at the side. On the other side, there were more than 4,000 golden core cultivators and more than 10 nascent soul cultivators who had not taken the oath. Everyone lined up and waited for the oath to be taken. After Riverward arrived, he was forcefully pressed into the team by someone. When he saw the figures of Daoist Changbai and Yishan, as well as the mountain of over 10,000 corpses, Jiang Xi pretended to be terrified. In reality, he was indeed a little nervous. Now he was dancing on the tip of a knife. Once he was exposed, he would not be able to escape. But he was still able to keep calm. He deliberately magnified the nervousness in his heart 100 times and turned it into panic. Therefore, on the surface, Jiang Xi's panic seemed very real and did not arouse any suspicion. However, his ferocious and terrifying appearance attracted a lot of attention. Soon, these gazes turned to other places. Because Jiang Xi's wound was very real. It was obvious that it was an old wound. Moreover, this kind of appearance was not an exception among so many cultivators. After all, only after reaching the nascent soul stage could one have the strength to heal such a wound that damaged one's foundation. At this point, Jiang Xi was secretly relieved. But he still maintained a high level of vigilance. When he was lining up, he did not dare to look directly at Daoist Changbai and Yishan. These two nascent soul stage cultivators did not restrain their powerful aura. They constantly brought a kind of pressure from the depths of one's soul, especially Yishan. His aura seemed to be about to merge with heaven and earth. It was frighteningly strong. Nascent soul stage, Jiang Xi was looking forward to it. But on the surface, he still pretended to be nervous. People lined up to take the oath one after another. In the wilderness, except for the voice of the oath, No one else dared to speak. After another half a day, Jiang Xi saw the Wen siblings flying over from afar with the people of the Qiao family. Then, the siblings were also forcibly arranged into the line. Both of them were full of fear. But their fear was, to a large extent, real. Therefore, in this case, they did not attract the attention of others. Many people had the same feeling. The Wen siblings had Jiangxi's instructions, so after they arrived, they didn't deliberately look for Jiangxi's figure. Of course, even if they wanted to find Jiang Xi, they could not find him. With Jiangxi's current malevolent and terrifying appearance, perhaps only Jiang Daodu would be able to recognize him. No one else would be able to. In this way, time passed. Another day passed. Finally, it was Jiang Xi's turn. Standing in front of the two nascent soul stage cultivators, Jiang Xi magnified the anxiety in his heart by 10,000 times. His body even trembled a little. He looked no different from the cultivators who had taken the oath before. I, Jiang Xi, swear to the heavens that I did not obtain the relics left behind by Daoist Gu of the Purple Heaven sect on Murong planet. Otherwise, I will immediately be struck by lightning and die. There was no problem at all. An imperceptible fluctuation had descended upon Riverward's body from the darkness. The oath was completed. Daoist Changbai was expressionless. Yi Shan was still smiling. The Wen siblings in the crowd did not show any unusual reaction when they heard Jiang Xi's name. They had been hunted all year round, and their minds were very firm. In the end, Jiang Xi successfully passed. With a nervous look, he came to another part of the wilderness. The cultivators who had completed the oath were all gathered here. No one said anything, and no one dared to leave. Murong planet? I received Master's inheritance on the first moon of Earth. Jiang Xi thought to himself. Thinking of this, a thought suddenly appeared in his mind. Why did it feel like there was a loophole in this oath? Why did he have to emphasize that he did not obtain Daoist Ge's inheritance on Murong planet? He glanced at Ishan of the Four Symbols sect from the corner of his eye. This oath template was said by this nascent soul stage cultivator. Jiang Xi was extremely surprised. Soon, another half a day passed. In the wilderness, except for the cultivators of the Qiao family, the Four Symbols sect, and the Tsangyan sect, everyone had made the same oath. And the people of the Qiao family who were searching all over Murong planet had not brought back any new cultivators for an entire day. Daoist Changbai's expression finally changed from indifference to gloominess. In the sky, dark thunder rumbled as if the end of the world was coming. Suddenly, everyone was silent as they felt a strong sense of danger. Qiao Xian, are you sure that all the Aurus Core and nascent soul stage cultivators on Murong planet are here? Daoist Changbai's voice was cold. Chapter 285. Senior, our Qiao clan's cultivators are still trying their best to search. Qiao Xian was fearful but did not dare to make any guarantees. This was because it was indeed very difficult to find cultivators above the Golden Core stage if they really wanted to hide. For example, they could bury themselves 10,000 meters deep underground. Unless one used their spiritual sense to search inch by inch, it would be impossible to discover such a hiding spot. All of you, swear an oath as well. Daoist Changbai's face darkened as he looked at the 1,000-odd cultivators of the Qiao clan, for Symbols sect, and Tsangyan sect, as well as the lone space hunter Fu Zhe. Everyone's expression changed. They had all entered the Qianyang Grotto heaven. Ishan also frowned slightly, because there were more than 104 Symbols sect disciples inside. However, he did not stop them. Half a day later, these people also swore the same oath. At this point, everyone had passed the test of the oath. This also meant that no one in this wasteland had obtained Daoist Ge's inheritance on Murong planet. Daoist Changbai's aura was about to erupt. Dark thunder rumbled in the sky, as if the end of the world had come. Then, he said coldly to Qiao Xian, have your Qiao clan cultivators search inch by inch. Search the entire Murong planet. Even if they are hiding in the depths of the planet's core, find them. He could not be sure whether the three people who had escaped from the valley had been found by the Chao clan and brought here, and had also sworn an oath. However, he was certain that there was something wrong with those three. Chao Xian was filled with helplessness, but he did not dare to refuse. He immediately sent a message to the clan members in charge of the search. At the same time, he sent out all the Chao clan cultivators here. This was destined to be a vast search operation. Searching inch by inch would probably take more than 10 years. At this moment, Ishan said, "Daoist Changbai, can these people who have sworn an oath disperse? I'm leaving with them." Daoist Changbai's gaze swept over the 10,000 cultivators before he finally nodded. Swearing an oath to the heavenly Tao proved that there was nothing wrong with these people. Disciples of the Four Symbols sect and those foreign cultivators, come out. Ishan said loudly. Many people were pleasantly surprised at his words. More than 2,000 people and 100 disciples of the Four Symbols sect flew out from the group and came before Ishan. Jiang Ci and the Wen siblings were also mixed in the crowd and were inconspicuous. Then, Ishan cupped his hands at Daoist Changbai and led the group into the interstellar transfer array. Daoist Changbai frowned slightly. He still felt that something was wrong. It was reasonable for Ishan to leave with the Four Symbols sect. But why did he have to bring along those foreign cultivators who were neither relatives nor friends? Could it be that Ishan was only doing this for the sake of his reputation? Wait! Daoist Changbai suddenly shouted. At this moment, Ishan was about to activate the teleportation formation. He looked somewhat displeased. Fellow Daoist Changbai, are you really not going to give me face? Daoist Changbai was slightly taken aback, and his tone softened a little. I would like to confirm it again. Please forgive me, Sect Master Ishan. Humph. Ishan didn't smile at him this time. He was unhappy. Daoist Changbai no longer cared about offending Ishan. He used the powerful consciousness of the nascent soul stage to carefully examine the 2,000 or so foreign cultivators and the 100 or so Four Symbols sect disciples. Among them were the unrecognizable Jiang Ci and the Wen siblings. After a quarter of an hour, the examination ended. Thank you, Sect Master Ishan. Daoist Changbai said with a sullen face. Ishan didn't say anything. He just snorted and activated the teleportation formation. His consciousness gathered a huge amount of heaven and earth spiritual chi from the surroundings. Immediately, the interstellar teleportation formation was activated. In the dazzling light, the 2,000 or so people were teleported away at the same time. Daoist Changbai looked at the empty interstellar teleportation formation. Sword chi flashed in his eyes. Is he not on Murong planet? He stayed on Murong planet for 3,000 years. It's impossible that he didn't leave anything behind. He's a formation expert, and those three people also know how to set up teleportation formations. There must be a connection between them. It's very likely that they got his inheritance. But no one who swore an oath just now showed any abnormalities. It means that those three people are still on this planet. We have to find them even if we have to dig 30,000 feet into the ground. Minglan planet and Kanglin planet were both grade 6 life planets, and they were both core planets of a star zone. But in terms of prosperity, Minglan planet was more than a grade lower than Kanglin planet. After all, this wasn't a trading planet. Sect Master Ishan of the Four Symbols sect brought everyone to Minglan planet. Minglan planet's teleportation hall. Thank you for saving our lives, Senior. Everyone said respectfully in unison. Ishan's dignified face showed a smile again. He said to the many foreign cultivators who still had lingering fears, this is Minglan planet. According to the interstellar teleportation formation fee, each of you has to pay 10,000 low-grade spiritual crystals. Of course, if you're short on money, you can develop on Minglan planet first. Once you've earned enough money, you can pay the Four Symbols sect. I believe that you'll like Minglan planet in the end. Everyone looked at each other. How could a nascent soul cultivator be like this? Thus, many people had bitter expressions. They could only stay on Minglon planet. Before they went to Murong planet, they had tightened their belts and only prepared 20,000 low-grade spiritual crystals. The interstellar teleportation formation fee was just right. Who knew that so many things would happen in between? In the end, they didn't get anything and unexpectedly came to Minglon planet. If they had to pay another 10,000 low-grade spiritual crystals, they would have no money to go home. However, although everyone was helpless, they didn't have any complaints. After all, Ishan had saved them. Of course, some people could afford it. They paid 20,000 low-grade spiritual crystals and left through the interstellar teleportation formation. Minglon planet is still too close to Murong planet. We have to go. Jiang Ci didn't communicate with the Wen siblings. He also paid the interstellar teleportation formation fee and left. His destination was Zhonglon planet. As for the Wen siblings, one was a darknet headhunter on Murong planet, and the other was the owner of the darknet. They should be able to pay 20,000 low-grade spiritual crystals. In the sky above Minglon planet, there were 4 huge floating islands. They were the headquarters of the 4 symbols sect. In the depths of one of the floating islands, there was an array boundary that prevented spiritual senses from probing. Inside the array boundary, there was an ancient altar supported by 4 stone pillars in the middle of a black lake. After Ishan left the teleportation hall, he immediately came here. He was waiting for something. After some time, the figure of a middle-aged woman suddenly appeared on the altar. The woman's face was ordinary, but there was a galaxy flowing in her eyes. Ishan greets Granny Yen. Ishan knelt on the ground respectfully. I already know what you did on Murong planet. You did very well. The woman's voice seemed to come from beyond the heavens. Thank you for the compliment, Granny. Ishan was overjoyed. In 100 years, I will get someone to reserve a spot for you in the Heavenly Court's ancient Tao origin world, Granny Yen said softly. Thank you, Granny. Ishan was overjoyed. A late-stage essence soul cultivator was so excited that his face was flushed red. Chapter 286. When Ishan heard Granny Yan's promise, he could no longer maintain his composure. Even after Granny Yan's message disappeared, his face was still filled with excitement. His cultivation was at the late-stage essence soul stage, and he had already mastered 80% of the weak water Tao. If he wanted to cultivate it to perfection, he would need at least 100 years, and at most 1,000 years. If he encountered a bottleneck in the middle, he might die before he could reach perfection even after his lifespan was exhausted. However, even if he mastered the heaven and earth Tao, he would at most be invincible among the essence soul stage. If he wanted to become a Tao integration cultivator, there was one more obstacle, the fusion of spirit and Tao. This obstacle was extremely difficult. There were countless powerful primal Taoists in the Tao Alliance who had been stuck at this stage. Tao integration was difficult. If he did not reach the Tao, how could he reach the Tao integration stage? However, Ishan was confident that with his talent and comprehension, he could complete the fusion of spirit and Tao within 1,000 years. However, would succeeding in the Tao integration mean that he had reached the pinnacle? As the sect leader of a top immortal Tao sect, Ishan knew that Tao integration was just another beginning. With my talent, I am confident that I can reach the Tao integration stage, but it will be extremely difficult for me to advance any further. The ancient Tao origin world of the Heavenly Court only opens once every 10,000 years. Even the disciples of the 3 sects and 6 sects have a hard time getting a spot. Perhaps I can use this opportunity to reach the threshold above Tao integration. His carefree laughter wantonly reverberated throughout the formation. Planet Zhonglon, Waterfront City, Teleportation Hall. When the light of the galaxy teleportation formation dissipated, he saw the familiar guard captain, Gongshi. Jiang Ci finally heaved a sigh of relief. He was finally safe. Gongshi once again made an exaggerated gesture of greeting because he did not recognize Jiang Ci, who had a ferocious expression on his face. Jiang Ci did not intend to expose himself either. He found a cover and created a new identity on planet Sanglan. He also sent a message to the Wen family siblings and told them to create new identities later. Then, he left leisurely. Walking on the streets of Waterfront City, Jiang Ci made a decision as he looked at the different scenery of planet Sanglan. I'll first complete the Golden Core transformation and reach the nascent soul stage before returning to Earth. Now that he couldn't treat the wound on his face, if he went back now, he would probably scare that little girl from Jiangdudu to tears. He might as well make a breakthrough first before returning. It just so happened that he was going to apply to become the Earth's Lord. Next, Jiang Ci spent more than 1 million spirit crystals to buy a manor at the peak of a mountain in Linhai City. This was one of the places with the highest concentration of spirit qi on the pale blue planet. It was the best place to cultivate. In the future, this would be his permanent residence in the starry sky. Jiang Ci stood at the top of the manor. He could see the sea of planet blue and the floating islands on the surface of the sea. With such a beautiful scenery, I must bring Dao De here to play in the future. Although he had such thoughts, he did not relax at all. With my current combat ability, I can be considered as invincible among the nascent soul stage cultivators. However, if I really want to take care of the head of the Qing Xian sect, I still need to go further. Not only that, but there is also old ancestor Qing Xian, who is comparable to the nascent soul stage. He is an even more abnormal character. The crisis brought by the Qing Xian sect had yet to be resolved. He still needed to continue working hard. After a while, the Wen family siblings arrived. Ever since they were born, they had lived in a society similar to the Qin dynasty on Earth. When they were on Minglan planet, they did not leave the teleportation hall. Therefore, they did not feel much about the outside world. However, now that they were on the pale blue planet, they were walking on the streets of this trading planet. The two late-stage Golden Core cultivators were completely dazzled. They had never seen such a bustling planet. Until they walked into Jiang Ci's manor, they were still a little absent-minded. The world was so big. When they saw Jiang Ci, they finally calmed down. "Uncle Granduncle, your face." When Yoxin was concerned about Jiang Ci's appearance, Wen Feng was also worried. "It's okay. When I reach the nascent soul stage, I will be able to recover." Jiang Ci smiled. When he grinned, those scars squeezed together and his face looked even more ferocious. The siblings looked at each other. Judging from Uncle Granduncle's tone, it seemed that it would be easy to cultivate to the nascent soul stage. Uncle Granduncle was indeed powerful. "What do you plan to do next? Do you want to do anything?" Jiang Ci asked. Since he was Uncle Granduncle, he had to be responsible and care about the development of the younger generation. Our Wen family's inheritance is mainly the art of crafting. It will require a lot of practice. Therefore, Wen Feng and I plan to open a crafting workshop and cultivate at the same time. When Yoxin smiled. "That's fine. I will help you find someone for the crafting workshop." "Thank you, Uncle Granduncle." Jiang Ci smiled. No matter where one went, there was no lack of connections and relationships. In the galaxy, besides the strong being respected, sometimes it would be easier to do some things with someone to guide you. The interstellar merchant Shenwansi, who was only one word away from the great merchant Shenwansan, had many connections on the pale blue planet. He could ask him for help. Shenwansi would be very happy to hear this news. This was because the spirit artifact trade was one of the top industries in the Dao Alliance's 9 major galaxies. Spirit pills and spirit artifacts were indispensable to cultivators. Moreover, the legacy of crafting artifacts was as rare as the legacy of arrays. It was very difficult for ordinary people to get involved in the spirit artifact trade. I can't sell the things left behind by my ancestors every day. There will definitely be more and more spirit crystals for cultivation in the future. The Wen family is good at crafting artifacts. Their legacy of crafting artifacts was famous in the Zixiao region 10,000 years ago. I can use this opportunity to get involved in the spirit artifact trade. This was another consideration in Jiang Xi's mind. Cultivation required money. That day, Jiang Xi called Shen Wansi over. This interstellar merchant, who dreamed of buying a manor in Linhai City, saw Jiang Xi's seaside manor and called him Jiang Gu enviously. As for the wound on Jiang Xi's face, he didn't ask about it at all. Who knew what kind of weird fetish this mysterious and noble young master was up to? Then, Shen Wansi started to complain. Jiang Gu, you've got me in trouble. That's clearly a place of Tao integration inheritance, but you told me it's a place of primordial spirit inheritance. Also, Jiang Gu, you've made a big deal out of this. I heard that 20,000 to 30,000 golden core cultivators died. A few nascent soul cultivators also died. In the end, even primordial spirit cultivators died. If it weren't for the fact that I have a lot of connections and that I'm just a small fry, I would have been dragged to the pale blue cloud sect by now. Jiang Xi smiled and didn't interrupt him. Shen Wansi's words hinted at one point, which was that he didn't reveal that he was the mastermind behind the scenes. Ever since Ishan brought the surviving foreign cultivators out of the Morone planet. What happened on the Morone planet spread throughout the pale blue planet. Chapter 287. What happened on Morone planet had caused a huge commotion on Blue planet. Because more than half of the cultivators who went to Qianyang Grotto Heaven came from Blue planet. Tao integration inheritance. 20 to 30,000 golden core cultivators died. Many nascent soul cultivators also died. Even the nascent soul cultivators of Purple Heaven sect and the sect master of Four Symbols sect from Minglan Star region died. This incident caused a huge uproar on Blue planet. So many people died. It was almost the entire strength of a level 4 or level 5 planet. However, no one dared to talk about Daoist Changbai slaughtering 10,000 golden core cultivators. If they offended such a huge monster, it would not be enough even if they died 10,000 times. When Shen Wansi was almost done complaining, Jiang Xi said with a smile, "Let me introduce you to a big business." Big business? Shen Wansi's eyes lit up. Then, Jiang Xi introduced the Wen siblings. When Shen Wansi heard that these two came from a refining family with a 10,000-year heritage, he immediately sent them to the Tao Alliance's Heavenly Court office. However, the Wen siblings' plan to build a refining workshop was still a little small. According to Jiang Xi's plan, if they wanted to develop and make money, of course, they had to plan it bigger. Therefore, under Jiang Xi's leadership, an interstellar trading group called Mountain Sea Star Trade was established. As the saying goes, even blood brothers should settle accounts clearly. In the newly established Mountain Sea Star Trade, Jiang Xi took 50% of the shares, the Wen siblings took 20% each, and Shen Wansi took the remaining 10%. Among them, Jiang Xi and Shen Wansi had to pay, but the Wen siblings did not need to pay. They were technically investors. 10% of the shares required 100,000 low-grade spiritual crystals. In terms of scale, Mountain Sea Star Trade was just a prototype now. To what extent it could develop to in the future, they still needed to work together. Of course, if they only relied on the Wen siblings, they would have to work non-stop to refine. The spiritual weapons they produced would not be able to support a group that specialized in spiritual weapon trading. Therefore, their initial plan was to recruit refiners. Then, without revealing the Wen family's refining heritage, the Wen siblings would guide those refiners. The Wen clan's blacksmithing inheritance was famous in the Zixiao region 10,000 years ago. Naturally, it had its own uniqueness. The refined spirit artifacts were very sought after at that time. They were often the finale items of the various major auction houses in the interstellar era. Now, it definitely wouldn't be any worse. He believed that with the guidance of the Wen siblings, the Mountain Sea Star Trade Association would have a bright future. After dealing with these matters, Jiang Xi went into secluded cultivation with a peace of mind. Completing the final golden core nascent soul transformation process. At the same time, he was deducing the next level of the true meaning of sword and true meaning of fire. He had gained a lot from the trip to Murong planet. First of all, he had accomplished his main goal. By refining the baleful yang energy, he had completed the nurturing of his golden core. Secondly, he unexpectedly comprehended the true intent of departing fire through the Wen clan's inheritance. True Dao intent was naturally incomparably precious. An additional Dao art meant an additional means. After that, there were still more than 100,000 Inferno Dao crystals left in the Qianyang Grotto Heaven. Dao crystals were very valuable because they were tainted with the Dao of heaven and earth of a Dao integration expert. Under normal circumstances, a doctrine crystal was equivalent to 1,000 low-grade spiritual crystals. In other words, his current net worth had already exceeded 100 million. Finally, there was the harvest of experience points. That wisp of departing fire had brought him 100 million experience points. That was also 100 million. He looked at the remaining experience points. Frowny face experience points, 232, 64 million, more than 200 million was a huge amount. Sufficient experience points were the capital to become stronger. Time flew by in the blink of an eye. On this day, Jiang Ci had reached the final stage of his nascent soul transformation. Xian Tian, Li Baibai, Hu Yan, Wen Yoxin, Wen Feng. The five of them stood guard outside Jiang Ci's cultivation room. Xian Tian and the other two had returned from a space hunter training ground in the Pale Blue Star region last month. He and Li Baibai had successfully passed the training test and had become space hunters. From the aura emitted by the two of them, it could be seen that their strength had improved a lot. However, the two of them were not satisfied because they realized that the gap between them and Jiang Ci was getting bigger and bigger. Li Baibai shook his head and said helplessly, "This kid, he was still an ordinary person when we were in the spirit nurturing realm. Now, he has surpassed us by a whole realm. Comparisons are odious, so we can't compare. As long as we are still improving, it's fine." Xian Tian smiled and was in a good mood. Wen Yoxin and Wen Feng looked at each other. They had only recently learned that this young martial granduncle was indeed very young. He was only in his 20s. The two of them were already more than 200 years old when they heard this. They really doubted life for a moment. Night fell. The aura of a nascent soul cultivator spread from the cultivation room to the entire manor and then to a radius of 100 miles. This aura attracted many spiritual senses to investigate, but these spiritual senses only scanned and quickly retracted. On the Pale Blue Star, Golden Core cultivators were only considered elites. Those who could cultivate to the nascent soul stage were top experts. Therefore, the owners of these spiritual senses did not dare to probe too much for fear of offending this new nascent soul cultivator. Success. Outside the cultivation room, the five of them were happy for Jiang Ci. This was especially so for Xian Tian and Li Baibai. The two of them were much happier than the Wen siblings and Hu Yan. Because Jiang Ci had reached the nascent soul stage, it meant that he could apply to become the Lord of Earth. Once Earth was marked by the heavenly eye of the Dao Alliance, it would no longer be a barren planet but a private territory. No one could trespass without permission. Otherwise, the Lord of the planet could apply to the heavenly court to arrest and kill the trespassers. As a result, Earth would become safer. Inside the cultivation room, Jiang Ci looked inside with his spiritual senses and saw that his golden core had already turned into an infant in his lower dantian. Nascent soul. Streaks of spiritual energy stronger than a late-stage golden core cultivator circulated around his body with the nascent soul as the core. It's still not enough. I'm still a little bit away from being truly invincible in the nascent soul stage. Jiang Ci shook his head again. His cultivation base and Dao domain were both at the peak of the nascent soul stage. Previously, when he faced Qiao Xian and Fu Zai, who were both invincible in the nascent soul stage, he used his strongest sword to barely block their attacks. However, his strength was not invincible in the nascent soul stage. His strongest move was only equivalent to an invincible in the nascent soul stage. His ultimate move was equivalent to an ordinary attack. He opened the experience panel. Cultivation, Nascent Soul, Early Stage 1, 81 million, Dao Technique, Gale Domain, 5000000/5000000, True Intent of Leaf Fire, 500,000/500,000, True Intent of Sword, 1,000,000/1,000,000, Amplitude, 100 Deduction, 10,000 experience points per use. Cultivation Technique, Purple Firmament Sword Manual, Peacock Visualization Method. Experience points, 225. 34 million, I've broken through the bottleneck of my cultivation. There won't be any obstacles in my future advancement. Peak Nascent Soul Stage. Jiang Xi's eyes shone. If he spent some more time and ate a few more spiritual fruits, he would reach the peak of the Nascent Soul Stage. You're tuning into the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.